What?
It's not recording. I hate everything. Jesus Christ. It's recording now. Oh, no. That's real annoying. I'm so sorry.
You're good, man.
I feel so bad about that now. Jesus Christ. All right. So we're oh, man. So far into it. Man, it feels so annoying to have to repeat all the same stuff, but I'm going to go through it real quick. Okay. So I was talking about like the fact that our friend groups never really were the same, but we knew of each other.
Right.
But I think now I know that we grew up in literally the exact same time because we're pretty much the same age. Almost 30.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm 30.
I'll turn 30 at the end of this year. So.
Oh, okay.
December baby.
Nice.
But so it was pretty dope to have you on, and I think you had a really good topic to talk about, which was like fandoms and their, I don't want to say ilk, because there's good things that come from it too.
There is a lot that is both beneficial and harmful to a fandom as it grows and changes over time. And again, you and I are kind of poised at the beginning of some very large fandoms, being that we both grew up to see the rise of G.I. Joe, the rise of Transformers to some degree, Power Rangers, which was my first big fandom, Pokemon. We actually were kind of ground floor.
When did Pokemon get here? Do you remember?
Oh, I want to say 96, maybe 95. I think it was only a year or two before Yu-Gi-Oh! And Yu-Gi-Oh! Was big for you.
Yeah, I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Was like 96, if I remember. I always try to remember what the date is that's on the bottom of the cards.
Right.
And I think it's 96 or 97, one of the two. But
yeah. It was incredible because I distinctly remember seeing Pokemon cards for the first time. I remember when I played the game for the first time. And I remember seeing the show for the first time. And it's an incredible thing to watch something that you love suddenly be everywhere.
Yeah.
And as you grow and as time changes, you kind of forget that it was not there at some point. Like, it's crazy. Definitely the internet helped with this.
Yeah. The only thing I guess that bothers me about that sometimes is more of like when things grow to a way that I don't like, which I guess is the crux of most like quote unquote toxic fandoms. When things don't go their way and they turn to babies and they get whiny.
Absolutely.
Like for, I guess in the realm of video games, Rainbow Six is one of those things. Rainbow Six and Ghost Recon for that matter. Those Tom Clancy games. I loved them when I was younger and like growing up in school. Yes. And then because of how slow they were and like very is it methodic? I guess.
Very methodical approach
like,
to things.
Yeah, it was just you planned everything, even with the AI. Like it was like you planned everything and you tried to execute as best to like whatever plan you had. And now it's like, open up that loot box, like get a Rainbow Six Siege, and hey, we got this multiplayer. And I'm just like, yeah, that's cool and all, but can I get back to like
the things that I
like
enjoyed about this
and everything? But
absolutely.
But yeah, I don't know. Have you experienced that, I guess?
Absolutely. There was definitely a time, I guess, what would be the easiest thing for me to notice? Let's take, for instance, Pokemon.
Okay.
Everybody I know of who is a fan of Pokemon usually has a favorite generation and a least favorite generation.
Okay. Yeah.
Because there's usually something that happens where you feel that some generation is just really weird. It feels so far away from the things that you loved. And in reality, you're just no longer the target that they're aiming at. Right.
I'm so happy you said that. Because like I had this argument about Star Wars with somebody, and I was like, after I watched episode 9, I was like, all right, it's not for me anymore.
Yeah.
I was like, this, all right.
You get it.
Yeah, I was like, this, okay, cool. I don't like it, but who cares? Like,
I understand
like,
it.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You get it, and you're like, okay, this is no longer aimed at me.
Yeah.
That was very, okay, so I'm also a big DC fan.
Okay. You're like the only one other than me. I love DC's story and their characters. I think that their movies and some of their more recent stuff has muddled that because they've made weird decisions, I guess.
Okay, so if you want to go on a tangent, here
all right,
we
let's
go.
Let's go.
Here we go. So there is a very big issue with DC characters in that a lot of them were created or based upon the viewpoints of something that happened in the 30s. if you look at the time period, that's literally between a war and during a depression. You genuinely wanted your characters, for people to be entertained, they have to be much larger than life. Mm-hmm. They have to feel like they are kind of unbeatable to a degree, that some foundational core of them will not change. So in the time where they were created, that was much more prevalent by the things that they did. Superman, you could always tell because there's the iconic image of Superman holding up a car.
Yeah.
When have you seen a dude hold up a car? That's just not a thing anybody else does. The red cape, the blue tights, all of it.
I think the closest to that is like Hulk, like
just destroying
with cars on his hands.
Exactly.
like as boxing gloves. But
exactly. Yeah. And so for a long time, you defined a character by what they did. It was the reason why I was very much more endeared to Batman, because Batman never failed. He always found a way. Either he was smarter, or he had the tech, or he had the friends. Batman figured it out. There is a kind of different movement now with writing and directing in general, how you make a character that is much more based on how they feel, which is a Marvel thing, because Marvel characters were established much more in the 50s and 60s, where you're in the middle of like Vietnam, you're in the hippie era. So your characters are much more defined. They're much more grounded, but they're much more defined by how they feel in relation to the world around them.
That's like right on the button.
Yeah.
Like that's exactly the big difference. I never equated that, I guess.
So when you get to Batman now, the people that write Batman are roughly around the age where the things that are important to them are how the world makes them feel. So if the world around them is dark, Batman is going to reflect the darkness. It's why the movies have such a darker tone.
Yeah. The thing, I don't mind that. Like the tone, like for instance, both I guess Man of Steel and the Batman v Superman, like the tone of the movies is not the problem, I think. This is just my own personal taste. It's more of like the speed of the movies. Like they could have kept that tone ramping up
but
to
the
something.
Pacing is really off.
But it's just like, what? This is too fast. Yes. Like you don't, just because Avengers was coming out doesn't mean that you need to make this movie. Like you could have waited years and would have been fine, but
you didn't have the time to develop any character outside of that movie.
Yeah.
So nobody is endeared to the character for what they are, because you don't get a lot of screen time to make this happen.
Right.
This is the same reason why a lot of people hate the Watchmen movie.
They hate that movie?
The Watchmen movie.
I thought that movie was great.
But how much attachment did you have to the characters?
Oh, absolutely not.
Saw it?
None whatsoever. Yeah,
that's the difference. You were able to come into that movie with very clear eyes. Now, in reality, when you look at the Watchmen novel, that's a thick book.
That's true, actually. Yeah. So I imagine anybody who was a fan of like the novel probably saw the movie and was like, "This is garbage."
Exactly, because in a novel, you have a lot of time to build a character. You can spend so much page real estate. Writer term. Page real estate. You can spend literal chapters just talking about how a character feels and how they develop. So by the time what the character has to do actually comes around, you know kind of how they feel when they see it.
Okay.
Like, it's the reason why doing a Batman movie without showing Batman's parents die feels really awkward, because you're like, why is this guy so dark?
Yeah.
Why is this guy so in pain? He's a millionaire.
Yeah.
he's a billionaire in a city where he's that much more, like, he's Elon Musk before Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Legitimately.
Yeah.
Like, your name is on the side of the building and everybody knows you by your face before you show up. But he's not happy. Because you don't get the time to build how that really doesn't gel with him just being a broken little kid.
Yeah. I honestly, have you watched Gotham?
I watched the first 3 seasons.
I like the way I feel like a good Batman story would be the first part is Bruce Wayne's like pretty awesome life as a kid. Leading up to like the climax of that arc should be his parents' that's not a word, his parents' death. Then that should follow like the building of a young Batman.
Absolutely.
And then that is one clean story arc, and then you get into like, I guess, most of the modern day Batman stories where it's like you got the Joker and all these characters. Like, I like the idea of Gotham. The problem I have with Gotham is it being a long series means that story is so stretched out, and there's a whole lot of stuff that's extra in there that you're just like, I don't need this.
Yes,
like
absolutely,
like, this is irrelevant. But I want to see if somebody is possible to do like a trilogy of Batman that starts where Gotham started and finishes with a current story, or like, I don't want to say New 52 story, but like something like close to that.
Well, see, there's an interesting thing here, because if you can take apart any Batman story and remove the parts that make it very obviously dated as to when it was written,
right,
Batman Year One is exactly what you're looking for.
Okay.
Because Year One, he is much less confident, but he is much more devoted to what he's attempting. So he has to learn and adapt on the fly. And I think there's another story called The Long Halloween that's pretty much in that same line, where he is just starting to realize the backlash of what he's created. Like, Batman is one thing, and admittedly, him trying to just put on this cape and solve the city's problems by night is more a way of him trying to cope with his own issue.
Yeah.
And then as you reflect the supervillains he has to face, a lot of that is a consequence of what he's now shown the world one man can be.
Yeah.
Because legitimately, the Joker is far less terrifying in Metropolis. Like, legitimately.
He's a joke character there.
Yes. Like, he's like, literally, there's a Superman here.
Yeah.
But in Gotham, where the most terrifying thing is one guy you only get glimpses of who beats up people in the dark, a complete psychopath who has a fetish for being a clown is terrifying. Because you're like, well, that's one guy. Well, yeah, but Batman's one guy.
Yeah, like
they are very much a reflection of each other.
Right.
Now, what gets interesting is, like I said, as different writers take over, Batman became a lot less about what he does and a lot more about how he feels, which is, I don't know if it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
It was not a thing I was prepared for in reading and writing as a fan of this character I had known my entire life.
I'm trying to think of like big examples of that in the very small slice of like DC stuff that I've read. I agree with you. I'm failing to think of like one big thing that stands out of like, oh, they really are trying to push his feelings more than like
well, I can give you a little bit of a concept.
Okay.
Take Christian Bale's Batman.
Okay.
And this is a very common issue for Batman fans. Let's compare him to Ben Affleck's Batman.
All right.
Both have pros and cons.
Yeah.
I believe Christian Bale is as far as being Batman in the suit goes, he is a far stronger character.
Sure. I can agree with that.
But there are things that he definitively lacks in depth because he's just trying to be a hero.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas with Ben Affleck, in relation to other heroes, he has to far more deal with his own personal issues, which is one thing I do give Batman v Superman, because a lot of that movie, he as Bruce Wayne trying to walk around and
like that, those are the parts that I genuinely enjoyed.
He's fantastic. Yeah. You don't really get that from Nolan's Batman. No. You don't get Bruce Wayne being this incredible detective.
That's true.
But you get that with Affleck. And there's something that it's worth for sure. It just doesn't balance with what you don't then get from that character.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that movie, there's clear scenes like the scene with him in the I don't know if it was like it wasn't like an art museum, but it was like a wherever he runs into Wonder Woman.
Yeah. I think it was like an art showing or some sort of big party.
Like that whole like scene, I was just like, this is cool.
Yes.
Like this is dope.
Yes.
Like I like this. Even like their exchange and her winning at the end of that whole like back and forth. Her character, I think, also was pretty okay. If that was the intention the intention was to introduce her into the whole franchise.
Right.
They did a decent job of building like a pseudo backstory ish for her, one that most fans already knew anyway.
Right.
I think where they dropped the ball was like Cyborg and the Flash and like those
the characters that get the least screen time.
Yeah, it's just like, Jesus Christ, you guys
we threw all the rest of these guys in this movie.
I was like, wow.
That's definitely one of the greater issues I have with the movie as well. Like, I love the Flash.
Yeah.
It took me
too.
It took me learning just what I didn't like to see in the Flash to really realize how much I love the Flash. Because I didn't get the things that make, especially Barry Allen, the first first Flash I read, Barry Allen is the one thing I will give the CW shows, despite a lot of their tropes.
That's the one that I watched all the way.
Exactly.
Like I watched Green Arrow and I was like, yeah, this is not bad, but I'm out. Okay,
I've got enough of this. Like, there's a definitive line where you're like, that's about all this I can take.
Literally all of the Flash was just good. There were a couple of moments where I was just like, what are you guys doing? You guys, can you not talk down to me for 2 seconds? Right,
yeah, cool. we clearly wanted to make a TV show here, and I'm like, I didn't come for the TV show.
It's like, can you just force feed me the Flash stuff, please? But no, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Even some of the like liberties they took on certain characters, like is it Captain Cold?
Yes.
Cool. I thought that was like they kept the character very similar to how he was represented in the comics, but changed it enough that like there were twists and turns in their story that I was like,
okay,
wasn't expecting that.
Exactly.
So
this leads to one of the greater points that I wanted to bring up is a fandom has trouble establishing what you can and can't change about the characters that they enjoy.
Okay.
Because there are certain things, and again, this is also an issue as a creator I have, where how much can you change about the core of a character before that character no longer is what they are supposed to be anymore. Because there's an issue of black or whitewashing, which a lot of people take a lot bigger issue with than they should. I don't think it should be used to make a point. Like, don't just make a character a different race because you can.
Yeah.
Especially if that was not something that was ever represented in their lore. But if it doesn't change any part of who they are, I'm willing to let you tell your story, because you could tell a very good story.
Right. I think what was it? The new animated Spider-Man movie was a good example of that.
Miles Morales.
Yes, yeah, he's
absolutely
good. Like it's you get the classic Spider-Man story, but with a more, I guess, modern take on it. And that's fine.
Yes, that's a Brian Michael Bendis creation.
Okay,
that guy's a fantastic writer for one simple reason: he writes young heroes particularly well. He wrote Miles Morales. He wrote I think her name is Riri Williams. She's the little black girl who will be taking over for Iron Man. Yes. Yeah. And part of it is he has 2 little black children. And he distinctly wanted his children to have someone they could read that looked like them.
Yeah. I mean, like, the thing is, I have such a, what's the word I'm looking for? I have, I guess, opposite thoughts on that sometimes.
Okay.
And it really boils down to what is the intent of the person who's changing the character. If your intent is just to tell a new story that kind of uses the previous already known story to, like, I guess, trampoline it forward a little bit, like slingshot it a little bit, I can kind of excuse that. But if your intention is to change a character for social brownie points, I'm not
mistake.
Yeah, like, I'm not into that. Like, and the thing that sucks is sometimes people have the good intentions, but they do it in a way that
doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work, and it also doesn't help their intentions come through.
Yes.
And so if people don't know that, or they can't get that immediately, it's easy to just go, oh, I see what you're doing here.
Yes.
You're trying to just do some, like,
this is the reason why I love
kind of
what Bendis did. Because by letting Peter Parker still exist in the universe, you then get to show, I'm not trying to replace this guy. I'm trying to say that he's inspired someone else to be a hero. much like he was, and that guy is trying to learn to find his place. This is the problem DC often has, because as much as they would love to create new heroes that work, they are very tied to how their foundational heroes were created and how they exist. They've tried to reboot Batman, and they've tried to make other characters be Batman.
Terry
multiple times. Terry, there's at least a few Nightwing runs.
Yeah,
there's a particularly hilarious run where Commissioner Gordon has a bat suit.
Really?
Yeah, he has a big mech suit. It's super goofy.
That's awesome.
But he has to just kind of like save the city for a little while. It's very fun, but they have a lot of issue with trying to separate what their character is from what their character does. Because Batman is so defined by like going out at night, by fighting these villains who are mostly mad or hyper violent, and by still being somehow smart enough that he never has to kill.
Yeah.
They lose that a lot. They try to make a new Batman who's a little more edgy, or who is a little less intelligent, or who tries to handle their villains in a very different way, and it doesn't relate because they've lost the foundation of what works. And the fandom will react.
Yeah, every single time.
They will violently show you that they don't like something if it doesn't fit what they do. So here's an interesting one that does work. Barry Allen versus Wally West.
Sure.
Now, DC did something amazing in that they have put on record that Wally West is faster than Barry Allen.
Cool.
He's the fastest man alive. Nobody had a problem with that because Wally had legitimately 20 years to be his own man.
Right.
Like Barry, Crisis on Infinite Earths, Barry dies, quotes.
Yeah.
And disappears for 20 years, and Wally is left to fill the gap. But Wally's not the same. So he develops, and again, you have an entire 20 years of fans where Wally is the only character they know as the Flash.
Yeah.
So when Barry comes back, I believe it's Final Crisis, Barry comes back, and he's been literally, by the way, I love how this was written, because he's literally been outrunning death for 20 years.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That was a Grant Morrison work. One of the things I particularly enjoyed in a story that I did not. But I loved that Barry is always tied to his family.
Right.
Family matters so much for Barry. And family matters a lot for Wally, but Wally is the Flashes as a whole are more committed to sacrifice themselves for the greater good of the entire universe than anybody short of Superman.
Right.
They have no problem running into a situation with no plan on how to get out, knowing full well they will probably die. Whereas Superman doesn't really worry about dying. And there are good things about that, but there are also really bad things. I've made the point, I don't think you tell a Superman story very well because Superman doesn't have very grounded problems.
Right. I actually had this conversation with somebody recently where I was like, I compared the current running Superman story, I guess. Well, I guess they canned it because no, he said Henry's still planning apparently to do it. So maybe they'll keep continuing it. So like the current running Superman story that we have in films would have been better if they took the Brightburn approach. I don't know if you've seen that movie. Like not the evil Superman thing, but like I need to, in order for me to care about Superman, I need to know about like young Clark Kent.
Absolutely.
Like the way that the movie wants me to. So like when I forget the guy that played the role of
Pa Kent.
Yeah.
The name escapes me.
He's a famous actor. When he dies in that like tornado, and I'm watching the film and I'm like, yeah, okay.
I'm supposed to feel something, like, but it's not here.
Yeah, it's not here. You didn't. I didn't see enough of the growing up. Like how I would love for those movies to end, or to end would be like his first and like small act as Superman.
Yes.
The first movie should have been like him like saving a whole bunch of people.
Right.
Like that should have been the closing act of it, not him fighting Zod.
Yes.
Like
they put too much on the plate all at once. 100%. I have the issue with that film that don't make Pa Kent Uncle Ben. They're very different. Like, I don't need him to be Uncle Ben. Like, it took me years and years, like, legitimately, I think probably 2015, I learned to love Spider-Man, because when I grew up, the Spider-Man that I grew up with, I was like, I can't deal with this guy always worrying about failing. Like, I don't want that out of my hero. That doesn't
like, you're supposed to be the guy who doesn't worry about it.
Yeah. Now, as an adult, I understand that, hey, this is a real approach to things, that when Spider-Man fails at something or feels he fails at something, he will give 110% to fix it.
Yeah.
Which is why Homecoming and Far From Home work.
Yeah.
Those movies have a very formulaic, him trying to be a normal kid and also thinking he has the hang of it.
Yeah.
He makes one big mistake and then
like, oh shit,
the hero kicks in. And that's the part that makes Spider-Man amazing. That is a Spider-Man thing.
Yeah.
Like, Superman doesn't really fail.
Yeah.
So you don't get that same interaction. Like, you can't. It doesn't feel right to write a Superman story where he fails or he can't save someone, because you feel like he could.
Yeah. I wonder if I agree with that, though, because like I want to see Superman fail, but I want him to ultimately always come up on top.
That failure is why it didn't work. The way they wrote, because him letting Pa Kent die was a failure.
Yeah.
Like, it was what Pa Kent told him to do.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but Superman has to live with knowing he could have saved someone and didn't.
Yeah, I imagine the story would probably be a lot better if he ignored what his dad said.
And did it anyway.
Yes. And now a bunch of people know who he is, and like he has to like.
That's why he's on the run.
Yeah. Like it would have been nice. It would have been. I think that story would have been a lot more interesting. But
absolutely,
it's very easy for me to say that from my couch. So
100%. It's just instilling like a core fundamental doubt in Superman felt very disingenuous to the character, because a person who has been that powerful, whose parents were supposed to be that honest and good, shouldn't really have that doubt.
Yeah,
like. Captain America doesn't have that problem.
No, he doesn't.
And we almost never talk about Cap's parents.
That's true. Wow. Yeah. Huh.
But I've made the point, hey, Captain America grew up in the 20s and 30s, and he is neither racist nor sexist.
They tried to make him a little racist in the movies. I don't know if you remember that scene where he comes into the SHIELD, like, flying carrier thing.
Oh, the helicarrier, yeah.
Yeah, and like, I forget what... It wasn't Falcon. Oh, it was what's the carrier Samuel L. Jackson played?
Nick Fury.
Nick Fury is like standing there. He walks in and like kind of just throws his coat at him like to carry it, and Nick Fury's just like, what the fuck? Like, just like look, which great writing. Like, I thought that was funny. Like,
but it shows how out of touch Cap really is.
Right.
And that should be there for the character, but he never portrays it. Exactly. Yeah, and he never portrays it when push comes to shove. Like,
he gave his shield to a black guy.
Exactly. He's like, you know what? I can't do this anymore, but I know you'll live up to this.
That being said, I don't think that was the right choice to make. Should have given it to Bucky, but that's my opinion.
That's fair. That's 100% fair. I think there are very few things I've seen that have so much potential that I think were just delivered at the exact wrong time to have the impact they should have.
I think they could have. Yeah, like if they had done more with Falcon,
that's the problem.
Yeah, like I would have been. But like at the end of that movie, I was like, him? Really? Him? All right, cool. All right, that's what we're doing. All right, sure. All right, the dude that's like literally been like the butt of a joke in Ant-Man, and then like flown around a little bit. Like,
now see, the only counterpoint I can give you is you can't then turn around and then hand it to a known killer. Like,
sure,
Winter Soldier's got some bodies on him.
Sure. Hell, give it to fucking Black Panther then, if you want to do that.
Well, like, I mean, ideally,
I know,
like, he's too
young. There's a lot more problems with that.
Well, he's too young, but ideally, it should just be a thing where if it were me, if I were writing just as a fan, give it to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
He's young. Yeah. Admittedly, he's a kid. Oh, but they're both from New York. He always respects Spider-Man because he knows that Spider-Man is just a kid out there, but he never hesitates to be a hero. And Cap respects that.
That would have been so good.
Yes. It's what made the Civil War scene so funny, where he's like, cool shield.
Yeah,
It would have called back to that.
Man.
But again, that's easy to do from your couch.
All right. So, hold on. All right. So, Marvel, what you need to do is hire this man to write your next films, because that's way better than what you just did.
But it's one of the things that I've always appreciated about Cap. Like, Cap can see the effort, and that's what he sees in Sam.
Yeah.
Which admittedly could have been very good had you given Sam the time to show it.
Even in like the big beats of that one movie, he was nowhere to be found. Yes. Like, I was just like, okay, sure.
It would have also been really neat, instead of the Ronin thing, if Hawkeye had been constantly on the lookout for a way to get them back, and then you give the shield to Hawkeye, because Hawkeye is much more like Cap than most people, because he's the normal guy surrounded by billionaires and gods. Like, legitimately,
there's so many better ways. It makes me so upset. It's making me. It's bringing back the same anger I had at the end of that movie to current day. Oh man, I ultimately thought the movie was fine. It was just that there was that. I was initially upset at the two characters that died.
Yes.
But then I guess over time I've just kind of gone, you know what? There needs to be an end, and if that's the end that they wrote for them, you know what? I'm fine with it. It's okay.
So you want to know who really gets the secret best arc of that movie? It's Thor. It's Thor, and it's not close.
Yeah, So I think at the time that I watched that movie, I was too into the weeds with like, man, I don't even know what the term is for it anymore, but like social politics, I guess, and like the whole like toxic masculinity thing.
Absolutely.
And when I saw Thor as a character, I was just like, oh my God, that's what you guys are doing. Jesus Christ. And now, like, I'm kind of thinking back on it now, and I'm like, you know what? That wasn't that bad. And I wish that this is so superficial, but I wish that at the moment that he gets both of the things, it just fried all that fat off of him.
Oh, so he was just lean Thor again?
I wish he could just go back to lean Thor, and I would probably been a little bit more happy with that film or Thor's arc. But everything else, I agree with you, was really good. So very well done.
Thor. The reason that I love Thor, and admittedly, Thor is the greatest to me analog to Superman that Marvel has, is that Thor, and again, I harp on this a lot, tries his best to define himself by what he is, and realizes that the true testament to what he is defined by what he does.
Yeah.
So he very often presents himself as being a god for the sake of being a god. Yeah. He's like, I'm Thor. He almost could just walk in and go, do you know who I am?
Yeah.
And it would almost not feel super odd, except it's a little too on the nose.
Yeah.
But that's how Thor behaves. He's like, I'm a god. This should be no problem for me. But that's what makes it so powerful when he makes a mistake, because he understands exactly how big it is when he screws up.
Yeah.
And you can feel it on him when he's like, man, I went for the head. I should have went for the head.
Yeah.
And then the moment he gets the chance again, he's like, I did it. Yeah. I did it. I killed him. Why didn't that fix anything? Yeah. Like,
I actually made things worse.
Yeah.
Like,
you see this weird depression on him that really sinks in, because he realizes that he couldn't fix his mistake. And then he has to learn to live with the world after his mistake. But the moment he gets a chance to fix it, he most honestly grasps what that's worth.
Yeah.
So he gets a chance to go back in time. He meets his mom, and his mom tells him, like, oh yeah, you know, I see the problems you're facing.
Yeah.
Understand you're who you are. Don't worry about you losing me. All of it is just a testament to how Thor grows from being a petulant child with far too much power to a man who understands what it means to give everything for someone else.
Yep.
Which I love. Yeah. That's writing to me. Like, yes, there are goofy, weird parts to it.
Yeah.
But like, now I can tell you who they did the dirtiest. I don't know why. I don't know what Kevin Feige has against the Hulk. I don't understand it.
No, you don't like medium Hulk?
Like,
yeah.
So every time Valkyrie sees him, I'm just like, why do you encapsulate all of my feelings? Where she's like, I think I liked you better either of the other ways.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh god, she's so right. Yeah. Why is she so right?
Yeah, dude. I remember seeing that scene where they were in the diner, and I was just like,
what is this?
No.
What is this?
Like, and then like the stupid thing, which they did it in the trailers, and I guess if I'd really paying attention to the trailers, I would have known that it was coming, because they had that whole scene where he was like, you need to do everything like you did back then, and then he just goes like, like, and just starts. I was like, oh no, that's what I should have thought then, but I didn't.
No. Like, there is so much that shows me that Bruce Banner was more influential to that story than the Hulk is, and that feels just wrong to me.
So the one thing I'll give them credit is they won't do this. They won't do this because this is too big brain. It's too 5-head. They could use Natalia. Is that Black Widow's name?
Natasha.
Natasha's death as a way for him to have to grapple with something again.
Okay.
And then like that brings it back to a good Hulk. But then there's the whole problem of like his arm, which they didn't really make much sense of that. I don't understand that. Like, I understand him needing to sacrifice something for what he did. They should have used any other character, because the way that Hulk is supposed to work, that shouldn't be a problem.
There's a god on your team.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. The whole time he's just like, yeah, no, I'm good.
Thor's just sitting there just watching this conversation like, oh, okay.
You guys have to figure this out.
Oh, man, that looks like it's going to hurt.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
I'm like, there's whole god right there. And we just don't want to use... All right, sure, whatever. Sure. We got to make Thor do something, or we got to make the Hulk do something, because we're clearly not going to have him smash anything.
Yeah.
So I guess he has to do this.
God.
I'm like, hey, whoever looked at the Hulk and went, we really got to use that guy's brain.
Yeah.
Like, oh, just what a miss. What a critical misunderstanding of the character.
That the whole point is that there are the dichotomy of the brain from Banner and the power of Hulk.
Yes.
Like, they're supposed to be...
just threw the one part completely away. Like, him
like,
being strong doesn't matter.
In the first Avengers, like that, those scenes where him and Tony are like, they essentially make Vision, and like that whole like arc of them built. I was like, this, it's not actiony, it's not like flashy, but like scenes like that make the movie.
Yes.
Like, if without a scene like that, if they cut all that stuff out, and like Vision was just like an accident or something, like he would have such less of a like impact of a character.
Yes.
So it sucks that they just kind of like, yeah, what if we didn't use that part? Like, but I don't know.
It's just a mistake. But again, it's a critical... Kevin Feige clearly had his own thing he wanted to show, but he built his universe around Iron Man. It's very clear
sure,
Iron Man was the core of that universe. And that's fine, because so fandoms don't really compartmentalize well, which is kind of a weird thing to me, because even the universes that you fan for are compartmentalized.
Yeah.
So like,
you should be learning this lesson.
Yeah, like at what point can we just, like, I learned very early on that when one of my favorite characters changes writers, I have to learn to kind of look at that with new eyes. And I have to understand that the Batman I see in my comic book will not necessarily be the same as the Batman I see on my movie screen, because those are going to be two completely different interpretations of a character. And they might not even be aiming at the same thing.
They're two completely different mindsets backing those characters. So
exactly.
Like, they're going to be very different.
100%. To take a little bit less of extreme concept, do you remember Superman Returns, the Brandon Routh Superman movie? Kevin Spacey plays Lex Luthor?
Yes. Vaguely, but yes.
That Superman is tonally completely different from Henry Cavill's Superman.
Sure, yeah.
He's much more happy, much more warm. He genuinely has a greater concept of family, which makes him feel much more grounded, but it also makes him still very super because you see what lengths he would go to protect his family. He's willing to die.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, Henry Cavill is willing to kill. Those are very different, like very different characters.
I guess a small side note for that. Were you upset at the whole Martha thing?
Okay. So you remember how you talk about pacing?
Uh-huh.
I have an unfortunate problem where I'm very cognizant of the passage of time. So I understand we're running out of time in this movie.
He's like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
We're
like
2 hours in.
Yeah, and I'm there. I was like, okay, we've been here a while. So how are we going to wrap this?
And they're like, here you go.
And I was like, oh. Okay, so we needed to give this a lot more time?
Yeah.
Like, so here's what bothers me. That movie has Batman being a phenomenal detective, and he never figured out this guy's name.
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
Then why didn't he know Martha's name?
I think he knew his name, but he didn't know
his parents.
I'm not saying this is I'm not using this as a as a justification. I'm just because there was the scene with him and the three of them with Lex Luthor,
right?
And he's like, I forget actually. Did they say each other's name in that scene? I don't think so.
I don't think they did. I think that's their kind of like interaction. One of their first interactions.
But Superman knew who he was at that point.
Well, Superman knows a lot of things that he shouldn't really know, X-ray vision and such.
Yeah.
And I write that off a lot because I've watched way too much Superman to know that he's got a lot of cheat code things that he does that you don't realize. And Superman's also a reporter. Like legitimately, he kind of has a little bit of detective in him.
Yeah.
So he can put two and two together a lot more than he lets on, but that's part of what makes Clark Kent so amazing.
Right.
He can play really dumb, which is the thing I think Henry Cavill actually lacks. He doesn't play dumb well, which is a core component to being Clark Kent.
That's true.
Like sometimes you just got to be like, oh man, I don't know. Oh geez, like he's a little goofy. But it works when you realize he's just trying to appear unassuming.
Yeah.
And again, it's one of the things that I don't even remember who wrote it, but there's a guy who was writing Batman who described Superman as the power of a god trapped inside the body of a crossing guard. Like legitimately, he's just so careful around everyone and everything.
There's that big scene in I don't remember which animated movie it was, but it was the one where he ends up fighting
it's Darkseid, right?
Darkseid, yeah.
Yeah, where he's like, I don't have to hold back.
Like, oh, you can take this. This is cool. Yeah. All right. Like,
yes. That scene is really crucial to you understanding what Superman is, but it's very seldom touched on anywhere else.
Which sucks.
He's holding back to do literally everything.
There's also the one from... This is the rare opportunity that I think you'll know every one of these animated movies. Probably. The one with the I think it was for Union Jack or whatever that guy's name is.
New Frontier.
Is that New Frontier?
New Frontier.
Yeah. Where like he's just like, all right, you guys want me to be bad, huh? All right, cool, sure. I'll flash you down from space. I'll like make all this. I'll fucking make a vacuum and suffocate this guy and look like I killed him. Like I'll lobotomize you and get rid of your ability like from your brain. It's just like, oh shit.
Yeah, this is a real problem.
Yeah. I love those movies with Superman because it that is the way I'd like to see him, where it's like, okay, all right, you guys have pushed me to the point where like I'm about to make a lot of really real mistakes, and then him recover from those mistakes.
Yes.
Which even in that movie they didn't really do because they were fake. Like he didn't actually do those things to an extent. I guess he technically did fly from the moon back to space or back to Earth in that time, but like he didn't suffocate a person, he didn't crush somebody with a car. Like he did actually lobotomize that dude. So there's that
guy for sure ended up with lasers in his brain. But that's kind of one of the things that you're absolutely right. Superman should be shown growing through some very real mistakes.
Something.
Like, if you're going to show him having these deep character flaws, then we have to show the mistakes that come with those flaws, which you don't really get to see in Man of Steel. Like, he has the flaws, doesn't really make the mistakes.
Yeah.
And I think that could have been there. Like, you could do that story. There's at least one comic run that does that well, where Superman's just a kid from Kansas. Like, legitimately, he's a kid from Kansas.
Yeah.
But he also has pretty much the best power suite you could put on a person. I think one of the things he does in the book is, and early on in the book, he's running around in basically like a t-shirt and jeans.
Yeah, yeah.
But he picks up a mob boss. He just takes a mob boss to the police. He's like, this guy does crime. Here he is. And the police have to explain to him, so listen, there's this thing called like evidence. Yeah. We can't hold this guy at all. Like, there's nothing.
He's like, but I saw him do it. And they're just like, well, that's not enough.
That doesn't help us at all build a case, man. Yeah. And that was one of the realer moments. And admittedly, I don't think fans reacted well to the run, to that line, because they don't really, it doesn't resonate with what people love about Superman.
I wonder, what do you think that is, though? Like, you think it's just the dynamic, crazy, big things that he does?
Well, let me put it to you like this. Do you watch My Hero Academia?
Yes.
So, you hear how All Might talks in the middle of a crisis versus how All Might talks to Midoriya when he's trying to teach Midoriya about his mistakes?
Right.
That's the difference.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
In the middle of an issue, whenever the fight is happening, that's not the time to talk about how Superman can make a mistake. Yeah. That's not when he's in mistake mode.
Yeah.
That's when Superman is there to make everybody feel okay because there's no problem that's too big for Superman.
Yeah.
That's what he's for. The rest of the characters around him, which admittedly is what Dawn of Justice should have been, can be the reflection of how dire this situation can be. But Superman is supposed to be the hope.
Yeah.
And
you're right.
So much of Man of Steel feels very hopeless.
Yeah.
And that's the wrong tone for that character.
Even at the end, it's like, hey, you're supposed to be this like good guy and like try to find the best solution to everything, and then you're just like, yeah, I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna
break his neck. Is that solved? Like, that just didn't feel like a Superman thing. And admittedly, I get it, he's in over his head, but
sure,
that can't be his resolve. Like, hey, let's just pick this guy up and see how far we can fly into space. Let's see how far we can get away or what we can do.
Yeah.
Like, there are so many things he could have done that don't feel disingenuous to the core of the character. That feels like there were so many ways you could have gotten it right, and you picked the thing that felt so wrong. Like, if you read a comic book and you turned the page to see Superman snap somebody's neck, none of that would feel okay. You're like, what is this?
I think the did you ever play DC Universe?
Yes.
You see that? Remember that the I don't know if it was a trailer, if it was just like the opening cinematic, that like whole fight scene and like the story that they used to branch off the entire game. I want so bad for them to expand on that outside of the game. I want it, whether it's a comic or an animated series, some animated movie, literally anything. Because I think that idea is so good because it forces Superman to have to, and Batman for that matter, to have to like battle with like villain, good, evil, like all that stuff. And it makes it very gray because now you have one central bad guy that everyone's like, oh, well, we need to stop this dude.
Yes.
For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, there's a game called DC Universe that is, I wouldn't call it great. It's okay. It's an okay MMO.
For a game that involves a DC story, it is very well built. Yeah, which DC very often just stumbles into.
What do you mean? You don't want to fly through rings in a Superman Returns video game for 5 hours?
Oh, fam, I'm not Sonic. Yeah. Don't make me Sonic. That's a Sonic thing.
Oh man.
But like I actually make this point very often with Injustice because I think Injustice is an incredible story. Yeah. That is what happens when Superman runs out of hope. Yep. That's terrifying.
Like, all right, You guys.
Oh, okay. You killed the last 2 people that are human that I love. Cool.
Right, cool.
I'm done with all of you. Like, that's a far more terrifying concept because you really don't know what you can do to stop that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all just people trying to figure that out.
The story is literally, we need another one of him to stop him. Like that's literally their answer.
Yeah, there's definitely, I remember the moment in that story where I was like, oh, it's problematic now. Yeah. Where there's a scene where he lobotomizes Shazam.
Yes, I was literally thinking that. I was like, he's gonna. Yeah,
I was like, oh no, that was the guy. What do we do now?
That's a child.
Yeah, you just. What do we do? That's the guy. That was the magic's the best weakness, and he's gone.
He's gone now. Like, I would imagine. I wish they had like a. It would be totally out of place, but it would be hilarious if they did a moment where they went around the room at that moment and just had what was going on in everyone's head. Yes. They were just like, "Oh shit!" Like,
this went really bad.
Yeah. I think that and Wonder Woman coming from Atlantis with.
Aquaman's trading.
Yeah. With his wife's head.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Just like, all right, we're done now. We can be together now, right? That's cool. And he's just like, holy shit. But yeah, that story's really good.
Yeah, that guy has a particular knack for killing characters. His name's Tom Taylor. He's Australian. Okay. He actually did another really, really good run recently in a book called Deceased. And
that's a cool name.
Yeah, he wanted to do a zombie apocalypse style story, but in the DC universe. And they're not particularly zombies. All right, I'm gonna go really nerdy, comic book nerdy for a moment. Darkseid,
okay,
kind of finally cracks the anti-life equation.
Okay,
in this story, and it spreads.
Darkseid?
Yes.
Okay.
It spreads through technology. Mm-hmm. So if anybody is looking at a screen, they're pretty much instantly infected.
Okay.
So. In issue 1, everybody in the Bat family, short of Alfred and Damian, dies.
Nice.
So Batman, Nightwing, Red Hood, gone. Just taken off the board. Step 1. And it creates a really interesting problem because, of course, like obviously Batman would be looking at a screen somewhere,
right,
instantly infected.
Yeah.
But as the book progresses, it becomes more and more dire. Like. Everybody you kind of are attached to gets infected and dies. And again, I apologize to spoil it too much, but there's a particular, the moment that felt really heartbreaking for me was Flash gets infected.
Okay.
And he proceeds to go running full speed around the planet, infecting as many people as he can.
Why?
Because that's what the disease does. It spreads. The moment it gets into one person, it's a zombie virus.
Okay.
But they're still who they are.
Huh.
So Flash is just full making laps around the planet, infecting people full speed.
Jesus.
And Superman's like, well, we have to stop him. So Superman flies up into space and he's radioing down to, I want to say it's Lois and his son and Damian, who only refers to Batman in the third person, but he never is talking about himself because he's still not comfortable with it.
Right.
Which still feels very genuine to Batman.
That's good.
It was an incredible, like, oh man, this is how you make this character go on. It was cool. But Superman basically is like, keeps asking, like, are you sure there's nothing left? Are you sure he's not, like, we can't save him? He's gone. And they're like, yes, we're sure. And Superman, they're like, well, how are you going to stop him? You can't catch him. And he's like, I don't have to catch him. I just have to meet him. And Superman just flies full speed head on straight through the Flash.
Jesus.
Just rips him straight apart. And that's how they stop him.
What's this one called?
Deceased.
Deceased.
Now, the really crucially sad part is that's how Superman gets infected.
Wow. Okay.
So Lois ends up writing the story of how Superman tried to save us and then he failed. Like, it's incredible because it's wrenching how these characters still remain true to themselves through this horrible time and things only get worse, but you can show that a character can go through something really traumatic and tragic and still be who they are.
My comic book collection is, I don't even want to call it a collection. It's literally like a couple comics that I have. One of them I read was It's not the New 52. It's the. Oh man, I almost want to.
Before or after?
It's after it.
So it's Rebirth era, most likely.
Or maybe no. It happened before it, but timeline wise, it's after. Like they're all old.
Okay.
Like, Batson's like an adult man, and when he
you're talking Kingdom Come.
Kingdom Come, that's what it is.
That's my favorite story of all time.
I have that in my closet, and I remember reading that, and I was just like, this is insane.
Yes.
I was like
Mark Waid.
The way that they like gave everyone motive for all of their different actions that leading up like to the end of the story, I was just like, wow. And like even the art style in there is just, it's different.
Yes.
It's so different, but it's poignant. Like,
yes.
I forget the guy's name.
Alex Ross.
Yeah.
That's Alex Ross. Yeah. That is my favorite artist
so good.
of all time because he only uses real models for all of his character work.
Like,
and he oil paints.
Yeah, I remember looking at the front cover and I was like, well, this is different.
Yes. Why does everybody look like people on this?
There's a scene where one of the I hope this is that same story. I feel like now I'm thinking about it, it might not be. There's a scene where somebody's wife dies, who's also a superhero, and he's like an elastic guy. It might be just.
Oh no, that's Identity Crisis.
Yes,
and that's
the scene of him just like losing it, and
his face
just
falls?
like, and he's crying. I was like, like this is.
Yes, that book is super poignant for the first time because. In that book particularly, you really understand the difference between the big three and the rest of the heroes. Because the rest of the heroes are far more grounded and they see problems far more differently. They don't necessarily have the belief that they can just solve a problem and people will change.
Yeah.
Whereas Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman kind of believe that they can... Excuse me. It doesn't. I don't want to make it sound as rough as it is, but they kind of want to enforce their will on a situation. They believe that if they give it all of their effort, then they can solve whatever they see, and that's the biggest difference. Like Nightwing doesn't believe that to some degree. I like Nightwing a lot. Like I genuinely believe Nightwing is one of the best characters that's underutilized because. He could be Batman, but he could also walk away. Yeah. Like legitimately, I don't think you could write a happy ending for Batman. I don't see Batman ever stopping.
So this might be a controversial opinion. I think the happy ending for Batman is Batman Beyond. But they need to do it perfectly. Or at least better.
I love Batman Beyond.
Yeah. Like that's the ending that I want to see for Bruce Wayne is like him basically mentoring the person he's passing that off to.
Absolutely.
But it needs to be in a way that like doesn't the person who picks up that mantle needs to be somebody who 100% understands everything that Bruce has done and then makes it his living goal to like make sure that is never ruined.
Yes.
And I don't know if Terry's the guy for that, but
Terry's not. Terry's pithy and Terry's fun.
Yeah.
Terry is much more lighthearted than Bruce could ever be because Terry lost his parents Terry lost his dad as an adult. Yeah. Whereas Batman lost his parents at 8. Yeah. So they come at it from very different places. And I like the concept that you brought forward, that someone has to really appreciate what Batman is. Yeah. Enough to never want that legacy tarnished, so they hold themselves to a higher standard.
Right. Yes.
You're absolutely right. I don't think that person can be raised by Batman.
No. Yeah. I don't think they can be raised by him. I do want his story to blend into theirs, though, in some way.
Well, that's why I like Dick, because Dick remembers what it was like to be happy. That's true. To some degree, Bruce has replaced at least some portion of the family that he had. And again, by all the other ancillary characters that eventually pop up, Dick kind of has a pseudo new family. Right. And he is less responsible for all of them than Bruce is. Like, to some degree, they're all kind of Bruce's kids. Yeah. So he had, like, genuinely, how happy can you be that all of your children go out and fight maniacs at night? Yeah. Like, from a real perspective, you're never going to be completely comfortable with that. But Dick could walk away. He could be Batman long enough to then train someone else to be Batman and then just let it go.
That's true. That'd be a cool story too.
It's one of the reasons why I enjoy Dick Grayson. I think he could genuinely find a way to find his happiness
and then
after being the Bat.
Wasn't Dick Grayson killed though?
Yes, they've done that a couple times.
Yeah, okay.
It never works well.
Yeah, okay, good. I remember specifically I remember the comic coming out, but I remember playing the Sony VR thing that they had, and I was like, oh, and it's literally him just like falling off of a thing, breaking his back, and like falling down, and the guy killing him, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. So this is supposed to go along with the comic, and then I didn't really follow it after that until the New 52 happened, and then I was like, oh, cool, I'm gonna hop right in here.
So again, not to this is where I'm gonna sound like the worst part about fandom that I hate.
Okay.
There's a long-standing rumor, and again, I only call it a rumor because I have not talked to these people myself, that some of the people at the high end of creative in DC do not like what are termed legacy characters, who are characters that are sidekicks that have aged because they further age the heroes that they stand alongside.
Sure.
So it becomes very different. Like, Batman's cool until you have to write like a 65-year-old Batman, which at some point you're gonna have to do, dude, because Dick Grayson's gonna grow up.
The one where him and Superman fight, the animated one, where he basically ends up getting Green Arrow to make a kryptonite arrow, and he shoots Superman with it. He's like, just remember, I'm the guy that beat you. Like, that is the old Superman and Batman that are like, I think is the best version of that story. I mean, sure, I think I need to probably reread Kingdom Come again, because I think that story is probably better, but it's not as fresh in my mind.
There are two that I can think of. Kingdom Come I love personally because, again, I think it feels very reflective of the issue of younger heroes versus the core fundamental older heroes, which at the time was also kind of a veiled shot at new 90s creations versus the core heroes that built our brand. That's the play there. That's what they're playing on with Batman retiring and Superman kind of quitting, because the core of that book is that Superman witnesses this guy murder the Joker and is like, dude, you killed somebody. Yeah. You have to go to jail. That's how this works. And the guy gets acquitted. Yeah. And Superman's like, that's not how this goes. Like, he built his entire foundation on doing the right thing and not having to end lives despite all the power he has. And this guy just threw that all away and everybody's fine with it.
Everybody's like, yeah, cool. All right.
And Superman's like, okay, well, I'm not in it for this. Yeah. This is not what I'm about. I'm done. Yeah. Which is a really poignant moment when you think about it. Like, I read the story where Cap puts down the shield. It's not like that. It has a very different feeling because Cap is still like, Cap goes to do some kind of covert stuff. Superman just straight is like, I'm done. Yeah, I'm way past.
I do remember the picture in the comic where Wonder Woman goes to the farm and is like, hey, you want to try to help us out? Yeah. He's just like, nah, I'm good. Yeah. It's like, no, we actually really need you to help us out. He's like, you guys are fine. Like
listen, you seem like you got it. Yeah. And it goes really bad. Yeah. But that's kind of the point of it all. Like, when you get so used to pushing things to be this so new edgy thing that you lose what your core fundamental portions are, what's core to your character, the only thing that can happen is disaster, which then forces you to rebuild. It's actually a really interesting cycle where, you can watch a character be created. You watch how the character develops. Eventually, someone else has a different perspective on the character. They try to change something. It may or may not work, but it always escalates and it escalates and it escalates. And eventually it usually ends in some sort of violence, right? Or some sort of big mistake where the character kind of has to roll back and find out what fundamentally makes them what they are. It's one of the reasons why I'm growing to love Spider-Man the older and older I get. It's because chronologically, Spider-Man's the first superhero to ever fail because of the death of Gwen Stacy. Yeah. And that is poignant for two reasons. Spider-Man failed when he didn't try to save Uncle Ben, and then he failed when he did to try and save Gwen Stacy. That's an incredible dichotomy for a character. Yeah. He's like, okay, I can't just try. I understand now, even if I try my best, it might not always work. But that only propels him to try harder.
Yeah.
And not
awesome. Give up, because that is the other option. Like, which I think is a really grounded story. Like, that is a lesson that I think people don't see. I remember, God, this is going to be bad. I remember talking about, it was an older podcast a couple episodes ago. I forget who I was talking to, but we were going over like the differences between men and women. Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking about that. I was like, I wonder if that lesson is drilled. Because even if you didn't see Spider-Man or you didn't grow up with Spider-Man, I'm sure that the phrase "with great power comes great responsibility" is, even if those exact words are not given to you as an adult man or child or boy,
right?
You get some lesson like that at some point.
Oh yeah, there's it's paraphrased from Corsair and I think the early 1500s, but it's also biblical, like to whom much is given, much is required.
Right.
Like it all kind of has the same thing. Like, listen, if you can do more, you should.
Yeah. Like the thing that came up was, I was like, I wonder if that lesson is as ingrained in women as it is in men.
Now, see, here's what's interesting. I believe it was high school. My teacher asked a question I had never heard before, and it fundamentally made me appreciate women much more.
Huh.
He literally, because the class was it was AP Physics.
Okay.
Back when I was trying to be as smart as I could all the time. But in this class, he asked everybody in the class, hey, if you can't make an A at something, do you believe you should still keep trying at it? And all the guys were like, well, yeah, that's fine. Legitimately, 3/4 of the women in the room were like, no, just do something else. So his point was that, listen, there are plenty of guys who make B's and C's and go on to become engineers. But there's a fundamental mentality difference to how women are sometimes raised, where if they don't feel like they're excelling, they should be doing something else. And it doesn't allow for room to grow, which is a really problematic thing, because you never realize that if you're not particularly the best at something,
that doesn't mean,
it doesn't mean you should stop. And it also, you don't ever realize who you might be inspiring even through your failure.
Right. Which is, man, those are all lessons that I remember hearing growing up as a kid, which that almost makes me sad. It's 100%. It's sad that's not something that's common regardless of your sex. This is a theory, obviously. It could be ultimately that, I mean, obviously your example almost, I guess, backs that up. Like the fact that there's that many women.
And admittedly, this was 13 years ago.
But but sure. Yeah. I'm sure things change, but like, man, that's sad.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But it's one of the things that I think is even more prevalent in media. Like, I don't want to lean too much on it because admittedly I haven't given the current franchise much time as I really want to. But we can wholeheartedly look at Luke Skywalker fail and get up and continue trying to be something.
Right.
I don't think that story would have worked, or I don't think it would have been met with the same kind of fervor that if it was Rey. And that's not fair or correct, but
I think I would have respected a little bit more. But
absolutely,
that's me. Like, I totally understand. Like, yeah,
absolutely. But I don't know if the general populace would have looked at that the same.
Sure. Yeah.
But I think they absolutely should.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I can't think of a movie at the top of my brain that I've seen that has shown a woman genuinely, utterly fail at something and then continue to do that thing. And even if she doesn't end up being the best at the end, people respect her for it. Either they end up being the best, or they find that they can do something else. And that's just poor storytelling.
Sure. Yeah. I don't know the full story beats of the actual anime or novel, but the first thing that came to mind was Ghost in the Shell.
I like Ghost in the Shell a lot.
Yeah, like, because she's good.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say she's the best in that story.
That's fair.
But is it Bato that loses his eyes in the story?
The guy with the eye implants.
Yeah. Whereas, like, that could have ended differently. I wouldn't necessarily put that on her shoulders as like, oh, your mistake caused him to like go blind or whatever. But I don't know why that was the first thing that came to my mind when I was like, is there a story that has that? But that is a big stretch, and I can't think of one off the top of my head now. Yeah.
And that's the part that that even feels a little gross to me. Like, it should be like bringing back to My Hero Academia. Midoriya has yet to be the best hero.
Yeah.
In any capacity.
Honestly, I think that's why I like that.
Yes, so because there is something that feels very real about the center character of a story not being the best at anything he does, but never giving up.
The only thing I think that... Have you read, like, further than the anime? Or
not currently, not too
I'm not
far.
going to spoil anything, but there's definitely stuff now that I'm just kind of like, wait, don't do that. That's
too far.
Yeah, I was like, that's
rein it back.
Stop. Like, I was fair. Like, you guys had a great idea going forward, and now you're like, Jesus Christ.
I definitely pray they don't fall into a lot of the regular shonen traps.
They touch it, but they don't. So far, they haven't like gone full like Naruto yet, which is good. Great, keep doing that. Don't do that.
Don't do that. I had a very similar problem. Have you ever watched a show called Black Clover?
Oh yeah.
I love Black Clover because the main character is juxtaposed to a guy who is legitimately better than
just
him
insanely better way.
And he's like, nah, man, we're like, him being better than me does not have anything to do with what my goal is. And like, okay, I clearly have to be better than him. That's fine. I'll be better than him because I want to be this thing, not because I want to just be better
than him at what he's doing.
Yeah. That I love.
They do a good job. I have a bad habit of like getting super hyped on like an anime season. Yeah. I'll watch a season of something. I'll be like, this is dope. And then they're like, all right, next year we'll have season 2. And I'm like, fuck that. I'm gonna go read the manga.
You're taking too long.
I'm gonna just go read this stuff. Black Clover is not bad. They make some pitfalls, I think, later on, but like they don't. I say full Naruto. Naruto is not bad, but they're the most shonen thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
So I've described it like this. Multiple people can admit to this. There is no reason that a show about ninjas should end with the blonde guy that likes to wear orange and make clones of himself being the best ninja. Yeah. That's not real. Make sense. Like, you can't tell me that guy ends up being the best ninja. That's not a thing.
Not the dude who like can go in people's brains and like
he screams all the time. Like, part of a ninja is just stealth. Like, Naruto has no concept of stealth, like, most of the time.
I'm sure the reasoning behind that was like, they were like, we want this guy to be like just juxtaposed of like a normal ninja or like the cliche ninja, but I think at a certain point they should address that in the story, and they never do.
No, never do. It's never a point.
It does the Gurren Lagann thing where it's just like, oh, you like that fight? What about this? This is bigger. Oh, you thought that was cool? We'll get even bigger. It's just like, can you guys like?
There's more ways to tell a story than constant This is my thing about escalation. Yeah. Like, there are other ways to tell a story than just go. This is the thing that I actually appreciate Flash for. Is that you can't, every season the big bad can't be a speedster. He can't just have to run faster. Like, that's dumb. Don't do that. And admittedly, it doesn't always work well when they deviate.
Sure.
But him having to fight someone who is not just a speedster.
Wait a minute. I feel like the CW show, that was the case.
There are 2 villains that are not speedsters.
Which one am I missing?
There's the guy, the Thinker, the guy who jumps from body to body.
That's right. Yep. Forgot about that guy.
And if you want to go to a greater level, there's all of the greater crisis stuff, which is never particularly.
That's fair. Okay, I totally forgot about that guy, the Thinker. That is his like villain name, right? It's like the Thinker. I'm pretty sure
it's something like that, but I don't remember. Yeah. Like, again, I did not particularly enjoy the portrayal of that character. But I appreciated that we were not just going to keep making him run at guys.
That's fair.
Oh, and Bloodwork, the guy that they did in the most recent season.
I don't think I've seen that yet.
Yeah. All right, not to spoil too much from you, but the guy has ALS. Like, he has a genuine like defect in his blood, and he believes that dark matter can fix it.
Okay.
And there's a whole big storyline where he keeps trying to get people to help him use dark matter, and everyone is like, yo, that stuff literally either makes supervillains or drastically destroys people. So let's try another plan. And he's like, you're willing to just let me die because you won't try. And eventually he gets hold of it, but it's too late at that point. And then he kind of discovers that he can kind of manipulate his blood. And he can put it into other people, and kind of, they're like zombies. So he starts infecting a lot of people. He goes on this crazy big kill spree, but they make a point of saying he used to be a doctor. So he has to like kind of separate himself from his Hippocratic oath to do this.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it had a lot of really interesting plot points. And to be fair, did you ever watch Heroes?
Oh, I love that series.
The Bloodwork is Mohinder Suresh.
Oh, I'm watching that. That's so good.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah, when I saw him the first time, and Amanda had never seen Heroes. And I was like, this guy is creepy. I was instantly like, that guy's creepy. Just wait. That guy's going to be the problem. I'm certain of it.
Oh, man. That was probably one of the most disappointing endings of like a franchise that I love so much. I remember watching that in college, and I was just like, this is super cool.
Yeah. Writer's strike.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, man.
That I will put the first season of Heroes against any show.
Yeah.
Season 1 is
so good.
Incredible.
I will say I've been on this, everyone at work can attest to this, but I've been on this kick of just like pushing Lucifer on people. I don't know if you've seen that show.
I have not, but I have access to it.
Damn good.
Is it? Okay.
It's so good. Because it definitely has like the whole like crime drama kind of vibe to it.
Right.
But the way that they make it a point to remind you almost every episode, they're like, hey, this is a comic book, and there's a world that's built outside of what you're seeing right now.
Yeah.
And then there are certain story arcs that are just like, all right, we're going full force into that world. Like,
right.
And the dynamic of this character who's trying to figure himself out is so good. It's so good. I'd recommend anyone who's like into supernatural like stuff like that, just watch it. There's a reason Netflix bought it. Like it's absolutely, it's pretty good. But yeah, it's in that top series of like, or top list of series with Heroes with me. Like it's really good.
That's awesome.
I miss Heroes a lot though.
Man,
God, it was so good.
Oh, even every time
the sequel, I don't remember what they called it.
I think it was just Heroes Reborn.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. But it was just I was so hopeful because I was like,
maybe they'll get it right this time.
They got Hero back. Like this will be it. It'll be great. And they were like, oh no.
Yeah, I remember having that feeling, just like,
yeah,
maybe. What? No, this isn't it.
There is a video game that came out around the same time as the sequel, the to Reborn, that I was like, it's on Steam. It's $5. I'll try it. It actually was pretty good. It's pretty damn good. The main character has a really cool power that like they evolve naturally throughout the course of it. It's not that long, but that's why it's $5. It's like done in either CryEngine or Unreal. Game looks nice. Like it. I recommend.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a really cool game.
I can look that up. It's not bad.
I don't remember what it's called. I actually think it's just called Heroes Reborn. But it's a game.
It should be easy enough to find.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
But like I think what it kind of to circle back around is one of the things that people have to realize is, at least to me, there are some core parts to any hero, which make up a series. There's what the hero believes, which is genuinely like his morality. There's his story, however, like whatever his origin is, and then there's his feats, whatever he chooses to do from that point forward. And any one of those can change at a time without too much drastic difference,
right? But
changing more than two, or changing two, or like changing all of them, starts to really lose the foundation of what the character is. Like, I'm down to read an evil Superman story if that's what you're telling me, but we can't then change his origin and change like everything. Every piece of him can't feel so different that, like, we can't make Dragon Ball and then just rename Goku Clark Kent. Like, that doesn't work. But legitimately, like, okay, well, they're both aliens and super strong, right? And you're like, that's not how this works.
Not it. Like, that's not enough.
Yeah, like, we can't change the power. Like, something has to remind you of what you loved about that character. Right. And enough of that has to be there that everybody can resonate with what's different. Like, Miles is a fantastic example because a lot of his story is different. His powers don't always really... He has powers that Peter Parker never really had. But because he grew up in New York, because the world around him is so much the same, and because the people that he has to deal with are so much the same, and because his morality is still built exactly like Spider-Man's morality, you never lose what makes that character feel like Spider-Man. So the face doesn't matter as much there.
The underlying story is still there.
Yes.
It's just you're changing some of the beats along the way, which is...
And keeping, admittedly, much like Batman Beyond, keeping the original character there to kind of mirror and use the experience that character has builds phenomenally.
It builds for two things, too. It builds for the new character you're introducing, and it also builds for the older character.
Yes.
Like, it gives them this, like, I'm not going to be around all the time. Like, I should probably... Like, and which, without introducing a new character like that, they will never... It's impossible to write a story like that. There's no way to write a story like that. So, introducing a character like that can be used as both. And I think the smart thing they did with that story in particular was... It would have been really easy. Because I think that came out before, like, some of the Marvel stuff. Where, like, they were like, all right, Thor's going to be this woman now. Iron Man's gonna be this girl now. Like, I'm pretty sure Miles came out before that.
Miles was the first one because they introduced Miles in the Ultimate Universe.
Okay, so like, when you see something like that, I think it's really easy for like some fans to go, that's not my Spider-Man. That's not the thing that you built. Why are you changing it? You're changing it for some agenda. But by having them both coexist, it deflates that possible argument, and then it gives you a chance to show what your story is. Because I think without doing something like that, people are just going to shoot it down before they even give it a chance.
You are absolutely right. It is by far DC's biggest problem is that Miles existed. Legitimately, Miles existed for, I want to say it's at least 3 years in his own universe, separate from Peter Parker. So Peter Parker was the main continuity Spider-Man, and Miles existed in the Ultimate Universe. And they do a crossover story where Peter ends up in the Ultimate Universe and he meets Miles Morales. That book is incredible for a number of reasons, mainly because it's the first time you get to really understand the impact that this character has, because Peter's dead in that universe. So he doesn't know he's dead. So he goes around looking to, figure out what happened to everyone. Like, he just jumps into the city. He knows New York. Mm-hmm. It's not that different. Mm. So he sees crime happening and he's like, all right, I'll be Spider-Man. I don't really know what happened. I don't know how I got here, but it looks like New York. There's crime.
Good enough.
Spider-Man's here. And he comes down and saves somebody. And they're like, thanks, but your costume's kind of in poor taste. Like, the guy basically says, like, yo, like, thanks for saving me, but like, fuck, why are you wearing that? Like, that's weird. And he's like, what do you mean? And he finally finds out that he died. And he has this he like asks somebody to tell him the whole story. And they kind of recap it off panel. But the part that I particularly love, which is mirrored in Into the Spider-Verse, is he goes home to see Aunt May. And they open the door, and whoever the artist is, it's chilling to me because Peter is just bawling. He's just full wet works, like, oh God, I left Aunt May, I left MJ all alone.
Yeah.
Because I died. Like, what happened?
Yeah.
And they freak out because they're not used to seeing him there. And then Nick Fury shows up and is like, hey, you're not supposed to be here.
You know you're not supposed to be here. Get the fuck.
But it's an incredible story because Miles is also just like, yo, what are you doing here? Like, oh God, I thought you were dead. Like, what do you mean you're here? Oh, you're not from here. And it, again, Into the Spider-Verse mirrors that really, really well. And that's the thing that I love about that movie is that it's paced well because we don't give that too much time because it's not Peter Parker's story.
Right.
It's Miles's story. But that's the thing. It's the other thing that Terry does really, really well in Batman Beyond.
Yeah.
It's no longer Bruce's story because it's no longer Bruce's city.
Yeah.
Like, the opening scene of that series.
Yeah, was perfect. Yeah.
I literally put that into Google once a year. Batman Beyond live action movie.
Yeah.
I just want it in the zeitgeist until somebody makes it. Somebody's like, there's enough money here to do this.
Have you seen the mock-ups of like I forget the two actors that they always put in those roles, but one of them was the dude from Twilight.
Pattinson? Oh.
Yeah, I was like, I want this, but please, like. You can pick anyone else.
Well, like, I'm just old enough, and again, I think you said you're about 1 year younger than me. Yeah. So, do you remember the Danny DeVito is the Penguin Batman movie?
Yes.
So Michael Keaton is the perfect age to play old Bruce Wayne.
Yes. Make it happen. Like
every year, I'm just like, come on, man, it's all there.
I didn't
all
even
the
think about that.
Pieces are there. Like. We can like, what would you give to see that scene?
Who's Terry though?
I don't care. like legitimately. To be fair, I would have picked Joseph Gordon-Levitt after the Dark Knight Return, or after, what was it, the last Dark Knight movie where he plays like the cop.
I know. I think it is. Is it Returns?
Yeah, I think it's the Dark Knight Returns. Which always throws me because that's a Frank Miller story. That's way better than that. But like, I was like, okay, listen, I don't get what we're doing with Dick Grayson in this. Don't do that. Just make him Terry McGinnis.
Yeah.
Like, make Joseph Gordon-Levitt Terry McGinnis. And then have Val Kilmer be the old Batman who's like, you don't understand how this works. Now, here's how much thought I've given this because I'm such a huge nerd. Do you remember the movie The Mask of Zorro? It's Antonio Banderas and Sir Anthony Hopkins.
I'm sure I saw it, but to try to remember any major beats would be impossible.
It is this story told perfectly.
Huh, okay.
Because Anthony Hopkins is the original Zorro.
Okay.
And through some things that happen throughout this time period, he loses his wife. He doesn't and his antagonist adopts his daughter. So he can't ever come for him because it's like, listen, if you ever come for me, I'll kill your kid.
Yeah.
But I'll raise her as my own.
Jesus Christ.
Right. What a brutal thing for a villain to do. Like, yo, I'm psychological, man. I'm not even, I don't have to do violence.
I don't need to hurt you. Like,
but they basically just put him in prison. Antonio Banderas plays like a kind of, like a pretty much a broke, just Spaniard in, I believe, what's California, like Southern California at the time. And it's just him and this old prospector dude and his brother. And his brother gets killed and the prospector dude gets captured and he's just kind of alone.
Yeah.
But it's all by a guy who works for Anthony Hopkins' antagonist. And Hopkins sees this guy and is like, okay, you want revenge.
Yeah.
All right, I'll teach you how to get revenge. Yeah. And there's just him training this young guy to then be Zorro. And I'm like, fam, we could just do this with Batman. It's been long enough. No one will complain. You have all the room. The Batcave is huge.
I can only imagine what that would look like on the big screen. Like, because like the one thing I'll give Star Wars 9 is visually that movie is stunning. Like it looks so good.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like if we could just put that talent behind Gotham in like 20 whatever the year that is for Beyond, like that would look so gorgeous.
I wasn't even that picky. I was like, damn, just take the animation style from Into the Spider-Verse.
That's true. Yeah,
you could do this all animated.
Yeah.
I would live for a CGI Batman Beyond. Because that suit's insane.
Yeah.
Like,
it has everything.
He has stealth mode. Yeah. Like, for a guy that hunts at night in the dark, he's basically a ninja anyway. Stealth?
Yeah.
You're dead. Like,
I did love the fact that there was like this like kill switch essentially that Bruce always had, which is like,
turn it off.
Stop it.
Yeah. Just, you know what? I turned the suit off so you can't be a jerk.
He's like, but I'm going to die. He's like, well.
Shouldn't have stolen the suit. Like, old man Bruce Wayne, so strong.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. Again, once a year I just like, listen, man, just put it back in Google. Hope that somebody's reading these.
Yeah. It's like, somebody, please. I think it will happen at some point. The only thing that I think would ignite it faster is if some comic book artists and writers would get together and make a new Beyond comic, like something that like
it's going still.
It's still going.
It's ongoing.
I almost feel like it needs to be like it needs either it needs to be renewed so that it's like fresh in people's faces, or something dynamic needs to happen in it.
Yes,
one of the two.
I can explain it to you, but it's one of the fundamental problems with a lot of heroes is the counterbalance. There is no hero that is successful in the greater mind's eye without a phenomenal villain.
Sure.
Legitimately. Yeah. As good as Superman is, Superman works because Lex Luthor is good. Every good Superman movie has a good Lex Luthor. True. It's the same with Batman. Batman has, in my opinion, the best rogues gallery, the best collection of villains.
Yeah.
But the best movies always have the antagonist that works. Like, it's why Heath Ledger's Joker is so iconic. It's why there are so many other really awful Batman villains that don't work. It's what like, if you're making a Batman movie and you know you're going to use Bane and Arnold Schwarzenegger, Mr. Universe is in talks, let's make that guy a scientist?
Yeah, that'd be fine. Sure.
God, his henchman had ice skates in that movie. Like, there's so much goofy silliness in that. But the whole of it is that you just have to have a villain that properly balances what the hero is.
Yeah.
And Batman Beyond, as much as I love it, there is not a villain in any part of that I can remember that is the whole of Terry's issue. Like, if there were a villain who figured out, who like showed up in the Batcave once, who just like, who got close enough to really cause Terry a problem and make Terry have to be Batman without Bruce for a little while, that would be the villain.
That hasn't happened.
Not that I have seen. There's not a villain that really attaches me to that character well.
I remember there was an arc where like there were these basically Joker was dead in that universe, but there were these characters that were like, hey, but what if the Joker theory still lived on? And they just kept and I was like, that's a cool concept, but like
didn't execute it.
Yeah, they were just like they kind of made it a thing, and then Terry immediately fixed it, and I was like, but wait, can we keep
they're goofy low level thugs.
I was like, oh, this is stupid.
That's you missed what made the Joker so dangerous. Is that yes, he is low level, but because of the amount of chaos and violence he puts out, everybody acknowledges how big that threat is. It's the thing that I think almost nobody gives enough credit to is in The Dark Knight, the magic trick. Right? When he's like with the pencil?
Yeah, pencil. Okay, all right, yeah.
So there's an incredible just amount of visceral carnage that he puts out in that movie with almost no blood.
Yeah.
Legitimately, you never see blood, but you see him kill at least 3 people.
Yeah.
On screen. And that shows you exactly what this character is about. Like throughout the bank robbery at the very beginning, when he kills basically the entire crew, you're like, okay, not only is this guy violent and dangerous, he's insane.
Yeah. I think the Killing Joke was what like brought that home to me.
Yes.
I was just like, God damn.
Yes.
Like, Jesus.
This guy is
actually messed up. Like, Jesus.
Yeah. That's the thing that I think is missing for Terry. There's not a villain that genuinely makes you worried for
maybe
him.
that brings us to the movie. Like if they can figure out a good villain for him, like that'd be nice. I don't know what that would look like for him, but
DC, when I find that pitch, I'll call you.
Yeah.
So you know. I will. But that's been my thing. Like I genuinely, writing a villain is one of the hardest things to do because you have to balance them being enough of a threat for the hero to have to give it his all, but not being completely obsessed with the hero so much. That's the other thing that makes the Joker work that a lot of other villains don't work with. But DC villains do this a lot. They are obsessed with the heroes.
Right.
And I know I've said this about Lex at least 10 times. Lex works because realistically, he believes if Superman did not exist, he would be the biggest, most amazing thing on Earth.
Yeah.
He's a genius.
Yep.
He has an incredibly, like, he would be Tony Stark.
Yeah.
The problem is Superman exists.
Yeah.
So, like, nobody's really interested in what the peak of humanity could be when like, there's a Superman. Right here, so. Yeah. And I would, if I were in the spirit of like writing a really good villain film because Joker worked, that would be my Lex story about like a kid who genuinely is like tries his hardest his entire life to be the best. He graduates top of his class, goes to Ivy League, top of his class, Fortune 500 business. And he's just like looking out, gazing over his empire, trying to figure out what he could do next.
Yeah.
But before he can ascend, Superman exists.
You're just like
I would just do like a real stalker, like obsession movie where this guy just kind of devolves into trying to take down this being that is standing in the way of him being all that he feels he could be. Because that's what he sees Superman as a lot.
Do you like write like stories? Okay, so like I don't know if you've seen any of the older, I guess even more recent stuff. I've often toyed with the idea of like writing some sort of like fiction. Have you already done that? Or
I'm currently working on about 3 different stories.
Okay, cool.
A little scatterbrained, but
no. That's pretty dope because I've not had the opportunity to sit down and talk to somebody who's like already in it. I don't know what has that been like a difficult process at all for you, or has it been kind of just like, oh yeah, I actually like this, like this is natural? Like
it's some of it comes a lot easier than other things. Particularly I had one idea for a character.
Okay.
And in trying to find the world around that character, I reverse engineered a villain.
Okay.
That was awesome for me because I didn't know I was going to end there until I got there. But it was like, I wondered, you know what's weird is every zombie movie I could think of, you never see the animals or the animals are also zombies.
Okay.
What would happen if there were a world where the animals weren't affected? Or what would happen if a zombie virus only touched people? And it led me to kind of create this interesting character who basically, like, he's a bird trainer.
Okay.
But in the midst of this zombie apocalypse, when he realizes the animals aren't affected, he just trains the carrion-eating birds, like vultures, buzzards, to kill zombies.
Okay.
So I made like a bird trainer that's a zombie fighter.
That's kind of cool.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty dope.
And then from there, I kind of was like, okay, well, how would this world look? Like, what would happen that would make this kind of world exist? And I kind of stumbled upon this idea of like a doctor who genuinely hated all of the real ilk of society, all the real problematic parts of society. He hates all the politics. He hates all the racism and sexism. And he thought, the problem is that humanity is no longer fighting for survival. So what happens if that's our greatest problem again? I think we could end war in one generation if the fight is for survival. And that was my villain. So this guy that makes a zombie apocalypse happen only with the idea that society needs to collapse.
I like that a lot.
That again,
but like that's so weird to hear though, because like when I guess I would count myself as below amateur when it comes to like trying to come up with stories, but you would think you're like, okay, well, do we like you never think I'll start with the world, or I guess you do think, but you never think that in starting with the villain or starting with the hero, you'll create the other two.
Yeah,
but like. I guess it's interesting that those kind of come about.
That was the first time it had happened for me, legitimately. But it was such an interesting rabbit hole to kind of fall down.
That's really cool.
That I kept going with it. And the more I leaned into it, the more and more I developed where like, okay, this guy would discover the research notes of this doctor who was like, okay, if the kill rate's under 85%, humanity will survive. We are essentially an endangered species from there. Like, okay, how long does this virus need to gestate before the symptoms show up so it can spread?
Right.
Like, because if it pops off too quickly, quarantine and it doesn't work.
It's done.
So like, okay, it has to have about 6 to 8 months with no symptoms so people can actually spread it. And someone looking up all of these notes would be terrifying.
Yeah.
Because you realize that, oh no, this thing that nearly destroyed humanity, somebody made it.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow, that's really cool. I love this story already.
Yeah.
Like, man, I guess the thing that I find weird is like I want a place where I can like throw these ideas, almost just like get them out somewhere and maybe have people bounce off of them. The fear, I guess, is two founded. It's one that somebody who's way better skilled than me at it would go, oh, that's a cool idea, and then they proceed to make a book out of it, so that by the time I actually get a chance to gestate on it, it's already done. Right. Or which is a kind of a silly fear, because no matter how they take it and do it, it will always ultimately be different than what you would have.
True.
But the other thing is like, I don't know where that place really exists. Like, if that is even something that even exists on the internet.
Like, so what's interesting is what you're referring to is basically just a writer's room.
Right.
And I think it can be done. I am all for looking for co-collaborators to do it, because again, while a lot of it does come very easy, a lot of it is also just a wall that that is very difficult to get through. That is very helpful to have other people bounce ideas off.
I wonder, man, this is bad. So this is how my brain works. This, like, I'm hearing this, I'm thinking, I'm like, is that like something that would be cool? Not necessarily as a series, but like as a running theme for something, like where people come together and they make these cool stories.
That's a studio.
Well, yeah, but like, how is there a way to like share that story as it develops without it getting that's the it's like,
so here's an idea I've been trying to I've had some concept for a while. What if there were just a channel where you had a creator who's like, hey, listen, I have an idea for a book. You're going to watch my journey of taking this idea as far as I can. And the whole of it would just be the fans of that creator and the collaborators of that creator watching him develop the story. So you then get concrete plot points. You get a record of everything that you develop, so you can retain a lot of propriety, but you also get to share the journey of development with people, which a lot of times endears them to the character.
Right. Like you, especially like, I mean, look at literally any like indie early access game.
Absolutely.
Like it's literally that
all the time. Yeah. Or I can tell you a more real example. Did you watch Avatar: The Last Airbender?
Yep.
So that studio, literally, a few of those creators, I believe this is true. A few of those creators get together with a woman at Marvel who has an idea to make this character that's basically Gwen Stacy, but she's cosplaying as Deadpool. This is how you get Gwenpool.
Okay. Really?
Yes.
Huh.
Not only that, the entirety of that book is a play on fourth wall breaking comedy juxtaposed with the reality of the Marvel universe. They do that exceptionally well, and it's all built on a character. And I listened to her as she after the fact, as this got created, she had to create this character because it was originally just the skin that they made to sell the cover of books. At the time she made the character, Fox owned Deadpool.
Okay.
And Sony owned Spider-Man. So she couldn't use any of she couldn't use any of the core fundamentals of either of those characters in this character's creation because they're proprietary to two other companies.
Wow.
And it still gets made.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Like the whole, I was talking to Alex, which was the last person I had on, about Fantastic Four and how they've been just getting like the most unfortunate circumstances around those films, wherein the story itself is actually genuinely good.
Yes.
But it's weird to see all of these like the company hands that ruin stuff. But I mean, you need them for money, like obviously. But it's I guess that's the same thing that happened with Star Wars too. But I don't know. It's the concept of like having people follow the journey of a story. It's both exciting, but it seems so risky to me.
Oh, it absolutely is.
Yeah, it's like, all right, so now that it's done, you from a business perspective, you can't really charge a lot for it because people already know what they're expecting, I guess. I'm sure you would have to do it with the mindset that not everything can be shared.
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
you show the bigger points, like, hey, we're working on this new character, but you don't really show what that character's gonna do.
I guess that's the same thing that like
it's a teaser.
Game developers do when
absolutely.
Like I'm a big fan of Apex Legends. I don't know if you
I have not played it, but I understand.
I'm a fan of it for the wrong reasons. And the reasons I love
fandom.
I love the story like that's behind the multiplayer only game. Because they release these like they're really well done. They're like these animated shorts of the stories behind each of these characters. And I'm just like, can I please just get one series, movie, something? Like I want something that like bridges all this stuff together. Like
did you watch The Mandalorian?
Not yet. I really need to. Oh my god.
Okay, so whenever you watch The Mandalorian, please let me know because I got that exact feeling throughout the entirety of that show. It's 8 episodes, and I was like, I would play this game verbatim. Don't change anything. I'll play this game right as it is. And I was like, the whole time I'm like, I would play the. Oh God, why is this not a game? This should be a game. Why can't I give you my money to play this?
You just have $60, just like staring at Disney Plus.
It's just waiting on y'all. But that's I get that feeling a lot where you're like you get really endeared to a well told story.
Yeah,
and it just happens to also be in a video game.
And the way so, I don't know if you intend on playing this game or watching this stuff. There's a character called Wraith. And the synopsis in the story is this. So the character she can open portals for her teammates and herself, and you instantly transfer to wherever she made the other portal.
Right.
She can go into that dimension just herself to like get out of combat, and then like she can run, and then at a certain timer point she'll come back out of it. So it's just like it's a good escape mechanism, or a good way to like get behind the enemy team without them seeing you. And those are her like activated ability. Her passive ability is whenever people are doing anything to her team, or like enemy people are doing stuff to her team, she has these voices in her head that tell her. So like if somebody's aiming at you, there's a voice in your head that's like someone's got you in their sights. Like there's like really cool stuff, and I was like, this is a cool character. This is dope. The animated short that they made of her explained where the voices were coming from and what it actually is, and what, the whole dimension and everything. So they do say before that she had a bunch of like horrific tests done on her, right? And that's how she kind of came to grips with all these different abilities,
right?
What you find out from the short is she's trying to go back to find the dude that did all this test her, because she wants to kill him. She's like, she hates the guy. But in doing that, she goes into the portal, and then you see all of these different versions of herself in this infinite extended thing that are like, they're all similar actions going on. Like it's her running, but they're all doing something slightly different. And what it is it's all of the different dimensions and timelines of herself. So she sees one of them not defending herself, and she's about to get tranquilized. So she jumps out of her thing, goes into her time, and stops that from happening. And she's like, "What are you doing? Like fend for yourself." And this other version of herself is just so timid. She ultimately ends up like, they get in a sticky situation, and she takes the little thing off of her wrist that allows her to make these portals. She's like, "You go, you live your life. The guy that I'm looking for is here. I'm gonna find him, and I'm gonna kill him." And as this other one leaves, she's standing in the portal, like in the dimension thing, but looking at her specifically, and she gets in a fight. And you hear the new girl, the new one that was timid, who's now coming into her own. She's like, "Behind you." And I was just like, those are the voices. It's just herself and all that. I was like, this is so fucking cool. Yeah. And I was like, this is so good. Character. I was like, can I please just get an animated series of just this?
So you could just do this.
I'll buy it. Like you could price it at like a decent price, and I'll still buy it. Yeah. But like, man, I get so frustrated with games like that, because there's even like little small things like Call of Duty. Like I'm just like, this is a really cool story. Can we get more of that? And they're like, this loot box though. I'm just like, all right, cool.
We gotta really get you to this multiplayer. Yeah,
man. I was like, I'll play it. I enjoy it, but I do want this too. Like, I don't know.
I definitely think story, and again, this could be its own thing. Is I think the decline of the importance of story in video games is tragic. Yeah, legitimately, it makes me very sad, because there are a lot of games, if you're not calling yourself an RPG or a JRPG,
it's not there,
or it feels like story is like an afterthought. Yeah, your story is the icing now.
Monetization seems to be taking the forefront. It's like, how can we make sure that we make more than $60 per copy of this game, and way more than $60 per copy of this game?
Which used to be you just write more story.
Yeah. So like, it's weird too, because I almost sympathize with them too, because I have to think like the cost of making a game has gone up. There's no way it hasn't.
True.
So
technology advanced.
Right. There's no way. Yeah. Like, so I sympathize with them, the fact that like, yeah, they need to figure out a way to make more money, or because no one would imagine the outrage if somebody said, all right, well, normal AAA games are now not $60, they're $70. People would lose their minds. Yeah. Like, they would rage in the streets. Like, so they can't do that. So they have to figure out some way to make it cost more. It just, unfortunately, it seems like EA was the first one that was like, hey, we found a really good way to make this. And like, now more companies are just following suit with that, which sucks.
Well, they took a lot of that from mobile games. Because mobile games were the first to really show you exactly how powerful microtransactions could be.
See, you know what? I actually watched a documentary on this. They technically predated that.
Really?
Yes. I don't know if you remember. So FIFA existed for a long time. There was another soccer series called UEFA, I think, or something like that. It was like
the UEFA one.
Yes. Yeah. So what they did was they had all of this like Ultimate Team and all that crap that they have in FIFA. It was in that game first, and that game predates mobile. Like mobile game, the boom of mobile gaming. Smoke. And then they made a fuck ton of money from that game in a small scale. And they're like, what if we just put that in FIFA? And they put it in FIFA, and they made buku money.
Of course.
And then like they were like, oh.
Yeah, because soccer's way too big around all of the world.
That I remember watching that and just going like, oh no, what did we do?
Yeah, like, you can see it and you're like, the world is different. Yeah, now. I don't know if it's better, but
it's definitely different.
I definitely got that the first time I saw Fortnite. I was like, oh no,
dude. That was the moment that I was like, am I old? Because like I was like. I kept up with everything that was like, I played PUBG when that first came out. I played I played H1Z1. I played like all of the games leading up to Fortnite. I even backed Fortnite as the PvE thing that they had. Okay. The building, I was like $60. I was like, this looks cool. I haven't played anything like this before. And I was like, I'll buy this. And I played the betas and alphas and stuff. And then when the game released, because they threw the Battle Royale thing as kind of like this side thing. They're like, people like it. And then it became the main thing. I was like, I'd like to have my $60 back. I don't want that. Like,
no, I don't do that. Oh no!
It was the first video I saw of some kid like just full 360 building this thing, and I was like, I can't do that. I'm not going to take the time it needs to learn how to do that. I'm out.
I don't even know if that's what I wanted to do here.
Yeah, it's like I just wanted to shoot some zombies. That's what I was sold on. Like,
that's absolutely a real problem where you're like, oh no, we've made too much money to ever go back,
dude. Which I'll give them credit. Like they do a lot to not just monetize, I guess, but like promote their game. Like all their collaborations with like Disney and crap. Like,
they're brilliant.
They find ways to like pull people into game that are outside of just like, here's some DLC. Like,
I mean, well, you know where we work. Like, I can actively tell you that game had a massive influence on what streaming was.
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
What it meant to be like a competitive in a gaming world, because like being a known gamer and being known for your game was significantly less big before Fortnite than it was after. Like, I can tell you probably maybe 2 people that I've seen play any other game as their primary profession. And those guys don't cross over into regular media very often or very well.
Yeah.
Ninja was on Masked Singer.
Yeah.
Like, he's a whole different type of celebrity.
On like a tour of every late night talk show.
They launched a streaming platform with just him.
Yeah. They were just like, hey, we're Microsoft and all, but we can't seem to get people over here. What if we just threw money at you?
Yeah.
Can you bring some people in there?
Like, well, how much money?
Probably.
He's like, a lot of money.
We're Microsoft. We're like the number 2 most profitable business. Like, we got some cash.
How much? Wait, what do you think is a lot of money? Because that's not a lot of money for us. Yeah, that was the moment where I knew things were very different.
Yeah.
And I worried about what that meant. Because I knew, like, I play a lot of Hearthstone. I enjoy Hearthstone because it reminds me of Magic, and admittedly, I've played Magic since 2003.
Okay, wow.
So yeah, Magic's old. Like, Magic's really, really old for me. It's probably one of my oldest friends, which is weird, but I could tell that gaming was very different when people saw how big it could get. Because I remember when Magic was just that thing that a few people played, and I remember seeing the moment where they were like, "Why can't we be this big?"
Yeah, I remember the first taste of like competition in video games with me was on PS2 when you had to buy that adapter to connect it to the internet, and I was like, Mom, I need this.
Yep,
like,
gotta do it.
I need to play Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter. So we ended up getting one, and I got into like this clan, and I remember literally being at school and not paying attention to really what was going on there, and just being like, all right, so we got this skirmish match, and, I'm trying to think of like, okay, if I I guess I could use the scar.
Just full.
Yeah, like just not like just super in that world. And I love that, and I like that memory, but that's not the way it is now. It's so commercialized. There's literally a Cash App team. Like for I think it's either Overwatch or it might be for Fortnite.
That feels gross.
Yeah, I was just like, what? Is this NASCAR? What are we doing? Like,
yeah, I distinctly remember, and again, this shows just I remember when I first bought Marvel vs. Capcom 2. That was the first fighting game that I was like, I have to practice this. Like, I need to be better at this.
It's like, oh, there is skill in this game.
Yeah.
All right.
Like and mainly a lot of that was because there's a weird gap in my family where almost all my male cousins are 4 or more years older than me.
Okay.
So I was always batting up.
Yeah.
And dude, I remember
there's a switch over here, and I've referenced this many times on these podcasts. It's not for me. It's for him, my brother. And he's just exponentially better than me at Smash Brothers. But I'll play him over and over and over.
I love Smash Brothers.
I love Smash Brothers, but to be fair, it's my fault that I'm bad at it because I hitched onto the worst possible character in the game. I love Little Mac so much, but he is trash. So it's difficult for me. It is fun though to go to tournaments and be the best Little Mac player anyone has ever seen. It is really fun to do that and then still lose. So but sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, you're good. I in the vein of Super Smash Brothers, because that was the first game that made me appreciate just nobody is prepared for just a low level of chaos.
Yeah.
In a game in a game like that. That was the first time that I really understood, like, hey, what happens if you just cause havoc until you run out of lives? See what happens? Yeah. You're going to win a couple of them, and people are going to be real mad, but it's going to be hilarious. Yeah. So I remember when Melee, or we got Melee, and I took Melee with me to college. And there was like once a month on a Friday, me and my 3 roommates would just play Melee for like hours. That was what our thing was.
Yeah, the game was great.
My roommates all played really good characters, and they were all much better than me because they all had siblings that were near their age. Yeah. I had no siblings, so I didn't have anybody to practice against and any reason to get good, and I didn't own it until I got much older. So I'm playing against Samus, I'm playing against Fox, I'm playing against Dr. Mario.
Oh my god.
Luigi.
Just that taunt. No, that man, God. At least you know my pain.
100. It's. I can't tell you that game. The first time that they got really pissed at me in that game was the game where wave dashing was really problematic. Yeah. Luigi has the least friction of any character in that game. So once you start dashing, you can skirt. Like there's a fight. It's DK Jungle, the 3 platform with the water under it.
What's it? Something Jungle Japes.
Jungle Japes.
Yep.
My buddy played Link. He's one of the most obnoxious Link players I've ever seen because he has perfect dodge timing. We used to say he had a Sharingan because the guy has perfect dodge timing. So he could, like, if you came straight at him, dodge grab, you're going off every time.
Man,
it comes down to me and him because I've caused just enough havoc for him to kill Samus. And I got lucky on Dr. Mario. I'm not gonna lie, I got lucky.
Threw some pills out. Like
I'm awkward and weird, and I think I caught him on a bad uppercut and he died. And my opponent proceeds to knock me off under the middle platform. Do you remember how Luigi's side B is that weird like missile thing
charge,
he does?
Yeah.
But occasionally you can like misfire and hit somebody really hard. I misfired from under the level to kill him off.
Oh my god. Just like I can imagine like the smoke just kind of fanning off and he's slowing down and he just connects and he's just like bing and then it's gone.
Like I'm down and then from the water
just a straight Luigi. Planking Luigi just
saying KO and he's like, what just happened? And I'm like, it's the Lou.
Yeah. God, man. I miss the fun nature of that game. I don't get to experience that often. because I'm so ingrained into like the tournament style of the game. And this is one of those fandoms that will like, if anybody that's ever played into a Super Smash Bros. Tournament shows up to your house and they're gonna play Super Smash Bros., if one item drops,
they
will disconnect their controller and just literally go like do anything else. Like and to a certain extent, I kind of get that, like the mind frame of like always practicing. But I've also, there was a moment with the new Smash Brothers that I went to a friend of mine's house and he had it set up, but they very casual players. Like
exactly.
Yeah. And so I got there and they were playing on like one of the biggest maps and they had items and stuff on. And I felt my initial gut reaction. I was just like, this isn't it. But then I was just like, you know what? Like why am I forcing that on them? Like they're just having fun. I'm gonna have fun too. Like I'm gonna just sit there and like.
I'll take it one step further with you. They are playing the game as it was naturally intended
Sakurai
to be played.
Has said many a times he never intended for this game to be a competitive esport.
No, it's about chaos.
Yeah.
Which is the thing that we managed to always keep in the game by doing two things. Number one, you should play with items. Just a little while so you enjoy it. Number two, theme a match. Pick a match and pick a theme to do the match. We particularly love all Captain Falcons because
the
knees and Falcon punches and random people attempting to spike is some of the most hilarious gameplay you will ever have in Super Smash Brothers.
Oh man.
It's 4 Captain Falcons running around a map trying to punch and knee people as hard as they can.
It's weird. I played that way pretty recently where and even then, I felt it creep up in me. Where like somebody, I was playing with someone else at their house. They were like, "Yo, let's play Smash Bros." Because they had like Tekken on, which I like Tekken too. I'm just really bad at it now. I used to be decent at it.
God, that game punishes so hard.
It's just like, hey, I hit you once, and so it goes.
Enjoy being at 25%. Did you dash? Oh, did you not sidestep? Well, that's your life.
Like, but. It was just 2 of us playing, and then one other person showed up. Like, well, they were there, but she just realized that we were playing Smash Brothers. She's like, "Oh, Smash Brothers!" And she comes and she like plugs her controller in, and we were ready to be like, "Oh, well, the person who lost like just passed the controller." And she's like, "No, let's all play." And I was just like, why are we doing with 3 people? Like, this is all right. This is gonna be bad, but sure, you know what? I'll go with it. Like, and the problem I have with playing that way, I'll have fun playing a 4-way, like no teams or anything.
Oh yeah, it's either 2 or 4.
Yeah, the 3-man thing is a problem because it's like
someone has to get ganged up on.
Once they realize Little Mac has super armor on all his moves, then they go, "Oh, gang up on that guy." I'm like, "But I have no recovery, guys, please." And then they just proceed to kill me all. I'm like, "All right, cool.
Yeah,
all right."
That was
it is what it is.
That was definitely the unfortunate part of playing with people who were better than me. Is it forced me to develop an actual good character. And I was like, fine, if I have to play to win, I'm playing Marth. Enjoy getting stabbed and like, you slashed all the time. And then they introduced Brawl and I got Ike. And I was like, this is better.
Yeah. This is just actually better. I do how much damage? Oh wow! Like
there are so many times you accidentally kill someone.
His up air is
they got too close. Yes,
the biggest arc chunk.
I like that everything looks like it was heavy and slow.
This giant yellow like gold sword. You're just like, oh, that hit me in the head. Yeah, I'm dead.
Yeah, and I was like, no, I went from 20 to 70. I get why that might launch me. I get it. That makes sense. It's very heavy.
Yeah,
but I love that because there's just an amount of the game that, again, I played with people who were weird like me too. So we all had a serious character, and then we had like, a joke character, and then we had to all be prepared for. We all were okay with Captain Falcon in case we all decided for a Captain Falcon.
It's like, all right, Captain Falcon. All right, cool.
Yeah, just Falcon. All right. And my buddy was absurd with Kirby because
Kirby's still really good.
Not only that, Kirby can be annoying because if you leave Kirby alone. He'll just duck and make that sound until someone is like, and you're like, somebody come deal with me. And you're like, all right, fine, cool. Now I have your powers. Now let's get in the fight.
Turns like, into a rock.
Yes.
It's like waits. God, Kirby is probably one of the more annoying characters, but it's more because of how floaty.
Yes.
Like in the competitors, it's like you can literally throw out like. This is getting really in the weeds now. I'm sure people. There's some Smash Bros. Players that would appreciate this. You throw out like a short hop, like forward A. Throw that out as an attack, but because he floats for forever, he's just like, here's my leg. This is still a hitbox. This is still a hitbox. This is a hitbox. This is a hitbox. Don't come near me. I'm on the ground, and we do it again. Like here's another hitbox. It's just like, can you play? Like, can you just stop trying to kick me?
Do a thing.
Yeah,
do a different
anything other than that.
Yeah, but like. That was to bring it back. Like that's 100% a fandom that doesn't know where the fun stops and the competitiveness kind of should be.
There's a documentary that exists about the creation of competitive Smash. Basically, came from Florida. Nice. Like all of the big players at some point were here. A lot of them have moved back, like Zero's back here. Hungry Box is from here. He still lives here. But all the big names, like they're from around this area, and it's weird because clearly the Sakurai, I don't remember his last name or his first name, but Sakurai is the creator of Smash. Right. He never intended for that game to end up that way, and even he's kind of leaned into it now. Because they're like balancing and like patches and stuff, and even then it's like bare minimum. But like, it's such a crazy game because you would compare it to like Marvel vs. Capcom or Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter or anything like that.
It doesn't feel like that.
It doesn't feel like any of those other games. But when those games were dwindling, Smash. That game was like it was just ramping up, and it's crazy, like. This game that had no intention of being at EVO or CEO or anything like that. It's just like, hey, we got the center stage. We have the most people watching this, but
it's so much fun, and everybody has a character that they feel they can be attached to from another thing.
Yeah,
that's the part that's incredible because it's essentially like like we're all a bunch of fandoms kind of coalesce. So. Where else are you going to see Mario have to fight Pikachu and either of them could win?
Yeah.
Like legitimately, you're like, I don't know how this goes.
It's like, all right, let's find out.
Because Pikachu would be super out of place in a Mario World game.
Just be a mouse.
Yeah, you're like, well, I'm going to jump on this thing and kill it because that's my move.
This star and
run through you.
Whatever. Yeah.
Bang. Dang. And again, Mario is not a Pokemon, so it doesn't really fit anywhere except for Smash. Where you can kind of deal with how all of your fandoms. I was like, I can't tell you how excited I was when they put Cloud in the game.
Oh, yeah, that was an interesting
whole like it was. But I was also exactly that disappointed when Solid Snake was in Brawl. To be fair, because I was like, this guy is not.
That's a human being.
Yes, like fam, you use real guns. Yeah. Like, what do you mean?
That's who my brother's main is, by the way.
So, Snake?
Guy's obnoxious. It's just like, hey, here's an explosive. Hey, here's another explosive. Hey, it's a rocket. Here's mortar. Here's an explosive.
I don't want to think about what C4 does to Pikachu. Like, that's... I don't want, like...
Just yellow fur just settling back on the ground. Oh, man.
But this game has made me realize that, like, those things can exist in the same world. And it's interesting. It's really, really neat. I didn't expect it. It makes me laugh every time I see Sonic next to Pikachu because, like,
it's like, wait,
you just be a really hard to catch Pokemon, dude. you just be really hard to catch. That's all you be.
That's a Meowth that can talk, basically.
Yeah, like, and it's really, really fast.
Yeah.
Like max speed.
I wonder. I feel like Sonic would insta win against most Pokemon.
Yeah. Well, in those games, speed is everything.
Yeah, it's just like he just runs up. Oh, he's not especially strong though, is he? I don't think so.
No, but he has other magical items very often. But
that would be the equivalent of like an item that he's holding in like a Pokemon game, right? So like
fair. All right, so if we were trying to load out,
if we're putting him in
all right, so we're talking
new DLC for for Sword and Shield, Sonic.
Yeah, just all right. So he learns extreme speed, quick attack, swift, like just all speed themed moves.
That would be great.
It'd probably be amazing.
I was literally thinking about trading my Pokemon back in because I haven't played it. If they announced that, I'd keep it 100%.
Yeah, all right. So in the greater vein of things, I played Sword and Shield start to finish.
I have not. I'm 4 or 5 batches in.
That's fair. Yeah. There is something to be said for making a Pokemon game where the Pokemon feel much more like animals,
right,
and where the world feels much more real,
right.
And I appreciate that. That's awesome.
But
I literally beat the game without finding a single Pokemon I enjoyed, which was I'm okay, maybe I'm just an old guy.
Yeah.
But I understood that, hey, the Dex is an unwieldy number of things now.
Sure.
From a sheer programming standpoint, this game can't be $60 if all these characters exist.
Yeah.
I get it. And that's fine. I understand you wanting to cut back. I'm even okay with you deciding that, hey, there are certain Pokemon that exist, and because of the nature of how they work, they are always going to be prevalent in the competitive scene.
Sure.
It's why, Metagross is going to always be playable if he exists.
Yeah.
Garchomp is going to always be playable if he exists. That's how Landorus always going to be good if they exist. So you wanting to take them out would definitely
force people
to try and find new things that work. That's awesome. 2 problems. 1, understand that you then can't make a mistake with whatever you have left.
Yep.
Because that leaves people that much less choice.
I remember hearing that the Pokedex was limited, and then also hearing that Gengar was still in the game, and I was just but what? Wait, really? I still get that, huh? Okay, cool.
Ghosts are the best.
Yeah, I was just this is absurd.
It's an entire genre where ghosts and water wreck you, and I'm what is this nonsense? Legitimately, I can't build a team without one of those Pokemon existing, or Galarian Darmanitan, because it's a stupid
I've never been one to play in the competitive scene. I've heard things in passing. Gengar is my favorite Pokemon, by the way. I'm just putting that out there. So
Gen 1, I respect that.
Yeah, so
I love Gengar.
Yeah, he's just a cool the concept of that ghost type story and progression. I was that's really dope.
He also has the best introduction in the game.
In the game, I don't know if I remember him in the game.
In the first game, they introduced
the cemetery.
No, this is the dead Cubone. The Cubone's dead mom. That's story.
Yeah,
that's the first time you see Gengar.
Huh?
Yeah,
that's wild. I forgot about that.
Yeah, they just kill this thing's mom, and you're
New
oh
Pokemon.
No, I'm a child. What?
He's not dead. This is Pokemon right here.
I don't but yeah, that was a thing, and admittedly, I applaud you trying to introduce players to new Pokemon, because admittedly, if the same old things exist, those would have been what I gravitated toward.
Right.
Because those are the things that I love. I love that you tried to get me to use these new things. I have 2 problems. 1, the new things aren't always great.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of things that you were afraid to pull the trigger on some stuff, which then kind of left some other stuff to be way too good.
Yeah.
And number 2, you also cut the move pool.
Yeah, I noticed that.
That's
even into my playthrough so far. I was just why don't I have all of these?
Doing both of those at the same time feels really constrained.
I wonder if it was for 2 reasons. A, to have the new players not have this gigantic library of things that they have to sift through, and B, for the competitive scene to be a little bit more controlled.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like it's both of those things.
Absolutely.
They I'm sure there were a lot of wild imbalances, especially when they introduced Mega Evolutions and whatnot.
Yes.
I heard that was everybody was really? Okay.
Cool. Well, yeah. There were a few major issues with Megas. Most of them being that the stat boost of a Mega Evolution took you basically out of the range of everything that wasn't a legendary, which is just, that's wild. Yeah. Man. I love that you chose to do this thing, and I love that it was neat and cool. Yeah. My only problem was you put it on the Pokemon that were already very good.
That's true, actually. Yeah, they like Gengar, Charizard, like
Lucario, Garchomp, Metagross.
Yeah.
Like they were already good. Salamence. They were already good Pokemon.
I wonder if they did it because they did like a whole popularity poll thing, and they're like, "Well, everybody's using these, so
that's 100% what it was." Here's how you can prove it: Pikachu has almost never been competitively viable. But he is the franchise player for Pokemon.
Yeah.
Like they made the mistake there was that you only made the good things better. And if you had brought some things that people didn't use as often up with Megas, I think it would have been far more interesting, but you were afraid that they weren't going to sell because those things weren't popular, which is why Charizard has 2 Mega Evolutions.
Yeah, like the most popular in terms of playability.
Yeah, like
that thing has so many reprints in the card game. Like it's always been insane in like all of the games.
Yeah,
like,
who was asking for more Charizard? Not me. I
almost feel like the second one where like he still has the same colors and everything, but is more of like the dragon one.
Mm-hmm.
I guess they're both dragons actually. Now I think about it. But like the one that looks more like Charizard, not the black one. I almost feel like that was an afterthought. I feel like the black one was initially the one that they were like, yeah, we're gonna do a mega thing for Charizard, and they're like, how do we make Charizard more money?
Yeah, 100%. Like this thing doesn't look like Charizard anymore. How do we make something that still looks enough like Charizard that people will want it? And I understand, because at the end of the day, you still know you have to sell your game.
Yeah, if you put that Charizard on a poster or on like some kind of like marquee in a store, people may look at that and go, "Oh, a new Pokemon."
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that is definitely part of it, which again is why I appreciate that the game was simplified down to the degree it was. My only issue is that, again, I started with the Fire Starter and I was like, I think I might already have the best fire Pokemon in the game.
Yeah, that's what I noticed. I have this Fire Starter too.
Yeah.
And I was like, is this the best move? Like the little fire.
I'm just gonna run this.
The fire not fireball, but the kick thing where it makes the
Pyro Ball or something.
Yeah,
right?
I was like, this seems real good.
Yeah.
I was like,
no recoil, no kick, nothing. Okay, yeah, I'm just gonna run this. Yeah.
How much damage? All right, yeah.
Seems good. I'm gonna keep running this till something stops me.
And then like the Gigantamax thing, and then using that same move, like the same move, I guess again. I was just like, all right, cool. This is
more
absurd.
damage. Yeah, it just keeps hitting. But yeah, that was the bigger portion there. Like and admittedly, I think Sun and Moon was a little too far away from what people loved about Pokemon as a game.
Sure.
Like removing the gyms, removing the traditional progression of the game.
Yeah.
And I've heard this from a lot of Pokemon fans, did not feel like a Pokemon game. And that is a problem.
Matters. Yeah. Yeah.
So getting back to that was good. Creating this new gimmick was also really good because they chose the whole...
They also balanced it well. They made it so like you can't just keep like you can't have a full 16 that's just like, hey,
we all do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. Because that was my issue with the Megas, was that they also took the item slot, which competitively I get that helps you balance it a little bit, but it's also like really hamstringing the team to just have one Pokemon that can't use it.
Yeah.
But that's how you get your gimmick over. There's a cost to it. And I like that in Dynamaxing doesn't take an item slot. That's cool.
Yeah.
As far as the game goes for team building.
It adds for more strategy, which is good.
Absolutely. But then your Pokemon also loses the item ability once they grow.
Yeah.
So you get a balance there. Like, all right, do I need the item usage or do I need the stats? That's cool. I like that a lot. I will say, I think my problem with the game is that the Dynamax trait only exists on Pokemon who already have it. It's not passable. So it is very, very hard to find a Pokemon with good egg moves and the Dynamax trait. So not only are you choosing whether or not to Dynamax, you're choosing how important egg moves really are.
They're making breeding more of an important thing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Which is, I guess, fine until somebody breaks the game, I guess. Like, I'm sure that will happen. Like, it is the Switch, and yes, it is a lot more secure, but people always do. I feel bad for Nintendo. Every time they make a system, like, people immediately go, how can I do everything for free? Like, and that sucks, but
yeah, it's definitely one of their bigger issues. But I enjoy the game for what it is. It is going to be interesting now because you've seen the whole DLC thing they've announced for Pokemon.
No.
Oh, they have 2 expansion passes coming this year.
Is it adding more regions?
Sort of.
Okay.
The first pass is basically it takes you to a like dojo.
Okay.
And in this dojo, they give you a particular type of Pokemon that you then raise up in that dojo.
Okay.
And I think it's fighting something typed, but in that region, because it does take you to a different part of the map, there are a lot of Pokemon from previous generations again.
Dope. Like, dope in the sense of like, I know that's going to make competitive a lot more annoying and more complicated, but True. It's dope for people who aren't playing for competitive to have the
Pokemon they love.
Yeah.
Like again, so. I've yet to have a full team that I like in the game.
Same.
Because they just don't exist. Like I built most of my teams between Garchomp and Volcarona, and neither are in the game.
I don't know any of the Pokemon names that are in my team right now. I can't. There's one like Crow-Knight or something like that.
Oh, Corviknight, Corviknight, the big bird.
I have that, and then I have the Firestar, which I don't know what the third form is called. Cinderace.
Because I named mine Pele because
perfect.
Yeah, I like it's Pele.
It's Pele.
But yeah, that was definitely one of the bigger problems in the game. Is that like I love the concept of Corviknight because it's a Skarmory that you can get early in the game and it develops, so it has better stats because it evolves twice. I don't like that it's just there. So they're like the fairies are less good.
Yeah.
Because you just have this Skarmory that you can get at the beginning of the game.
It's like we immediately have a balance to this.
Yeah, just enjoy getting iron-headed from the sky. Like I'm not afraid of a single fairy in the game.
Yeah.
But also because there's so many ghosts, fighting type is really awkward in the game. Like legitimately, one of the coolest designs I like is there's a Pokemon called Phalanx. It just looks like 5 little guys.
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah, it's like they almost look like a centipede.
Yes, but they they move individually of each other.
Yeah,
and that Pokemon exists in the overworld. Like there's a part of the map where you can just see them walk around in lines. It's super neat. Yeah, I like that as a concept. Problem is, literally, there are like 5 things that guy stands no chance of beating because they're all ghosts.
Yeah,
not one of them is the pseudo legendary of the game, Dragapult, the flying ghost dragon.
I haven't seen that yet.
That guy's awesome. Except he's a ghost dragon, so his move pool is trash. Move pool is god awful. But
doesn't even have a dark, so it like doesn't even have that move pool. That's wild.
Exactly. But he has a unique move to himself called Dragon Darts. The big thing about Dragapult is it's a second stage Pokemon. The baby form is a little thing called Dreepy.
Okay.
And Dragapult is essentially like a stealth jet on top of a ghost.
Okay.
And the stealth jet has 2 baby Dreepies that it shoots in its move called Dragon Darts. And it shoots both of them and they each do 50 damage apiece.
What?
Yeah, it's a dragon type physical move that hits twice at 50 damage apiece.
Jesus. Is there a chance of missing either of those 50?
No.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sure. Yeah. Just KO a Pokemon. Got it.
Yeah. Okay. You hit twice, and again, because it's a ghost, like one of its abilities is Infiltrator, so it just gets through subs. It gets through a bunch of things it really shouldn't, and it's one of the fastest, if not the fastest, non-legendary Pokemon in the game.
Huh. So I told myself when I first bought Sword I was going to get into the competitive scene. And I think so many other things came out in that time span that I just kind of was just like, I don't have time to do it. I enjoy Pokemon for what it is. I just don't know if I'm saying I've outgrown it is a bad way. It's not that. It's more so of like, I think my taste in games have changed. I noticed that with like JRPGs. I was a big fan of Tales of Vesperia. I don't know if like on the Xbox I played that and I was like, this game is great. This is cool. And then I bought Tales of Zestiria. And I was like, I hate this. This is taking forever to get to anything that I like exciting. It's just like so much exposition.
Yeah.
And then I like refunded it on Steam, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I don't like JRPGs anymore. And then I bought Monster Hunter World recently, and I was just like, all right, sure, I guess I'll try this out.
You value your time differently.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's the thing. Like the grind, because I distinctly remember, for me, it was Monster Hunter. I remember the time where I was like, okay, I want to beat everything about Monster Hunter. I want to take however much time it takes, whatever I have to do, however many things I have to kill, I want to finish this game. I cannot fathom doing that now.
Yeah, no.
Like, no way. There's just not a reason I can imagine to put that much time into a game.
I remember somebody saying that you only have space in your life for one game that you can't beat.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, like for me, I guess that's technically Warframe. It's the one game I go back to every now and then. I was never a big WoW guy. I played some MMOs. Like I always dabbled like in the new one. I was like kind of hoping like this will be the one that I'd like really dive into.
Yeah. You always hope you find what everybody loves so much about it.
Yeah.
Just never really.
The closest to that was Guild Wars. I have you can't really see it here. It's behind this thing. I have like a Guild Wars 2 statue.
Nice.
And I love that series and I love the story. But after I finished the story of the MMO, I was just like,
I'm done.
Yeah, I'm good. Like I don't want to grind and do raids or anything. Yeah. Like I've done a couple. Like it's like I'm out. I think that's ultimately what it has become for me. Is like I don't do the third person multiplayer stuff like PvP stuff anymore.
Yeah.
Like I tapped out of Destiny. The only I guess exception to that is Apex. I don't know why. There's something about that game that's like, oh, I died. Okay, I'm respawning into the next game. Like it's very quick.
Yes.
But like I didn't get into Destiny. I pretty much skipped out on Call of Duty up until recently. I didn't play. Wow, I didn't play anything after Black Ops 3.
Wow.
Like I just tapped out. I was like, yeah, this is good. This is. Oh, no one's playing this now. All right, cool.
And see, that was the thing for me. Like I distinctly remember. Like I'm not a Call of Duty person. As a whole, I have an issue with FPSs where I don't like not having peripheral vision.
That's fair.
So it's a weird concept for me. The story of that game was really good.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh wait, are we done?
Yeah.
No,
like, can we? No, that's it.
Oh, okay. Come on.
Credits, huh? Okay.
Like, all right. Well, maybe I'm better now. Maybe I can go online. Nope. I'm still real bad.
That game it's so different. But even the new one, like the new Modern Warfare, I saw that and was like, well, I really like the first 3 Modern Warfare games. Maybe this will be great. And I got it, and it was good for all of like maybe a month, and then they started throwing in like pay to win kind of stuff.
Yeah,
where it was like, all right, well, you lost me. Like,
yeah, I definitely think that. I think that it's been very underrated to tell a good story in a game, and it's definitely been not appreciated to add to that story after the fact.
What's I guess I don't want to keep you here too long, but what's a recent story in a game that you've been like, yeah, this is dope. Like I want to play this.
I mean, not to go too far back, but sure. God of War 4.
Okay.
Or the
new God of War.
Yes.
Yeah. I played that too. Yeah, it's really good.
I will wholeheartedly admit, I think I played the first at least 2 God of Wars more for the action than the story. But I loved the world that the story was in, so I was in.
Yeah.
And then we get to this one, and I was like, okay, I'm a dad too now.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
that probably.
Okay, I feel things in my fighting game. Like I feel things in my action game now, and I don't know what this means.
I don't have any kids, but the first moment where like he has him like hunt the deer, and you see him like about to like pat him on the back, and he just doesn't. I was like, oh no,
right?
No. Kratos, what are you doing, buddy?
Like, oh no, all the feelings in this game. Like, or to bring it to a different feel, did you watch the movie Logan?
No, I've never sat down and watched all the way through. I've seen like clips and highlights and stuff from it, though.
I still don't know whether I like that movie. To be completely honest with you, I don't know whether or not I like that movie. What I do know that I loved is that it really made me appreciate that Logan is just a guy sometimes. Like, for all of the he's a guy with 6 knives in his hand.
Yeah.
Like, legitimately, that's dangerous. That's real dangerous. But in the grand scheme of, like, the world changing, that doesn't do nearly as much as you think it does.
Sure.
And that's what Logan shows you. Like, when everything kind of goes to pot, he's still just him. And when it's hard for him to, like, really learn how to care about things, and it's hard for him to figure out what to do, because really his only skill set is murder
and surviving.
Like, that's all he really knows how to do. And as the survival part gets harder, you don't really want to keep doing the murder part.
You're just like, can I just tap out and not care about all this stuff that's going on? Oh, it's happening to people that actually care about.
So it creates a really interesting dichotomy. And then you introduce Laura. You introduce the kid. And then he's like, oh crap. How do I there's a really interesting, and again, as a parent, you'll figure this out. Everybody does. There's a really interesting balance of wanting to see exactly what your kid could be and desperately hoping that they don't make any of the mistakes you did. That movie shows that very well, because he sees how dangerous she is pretty much out of the gate. And a lot of it is him trying to be like, all right, let's murder. Like, don't. All right, stay over here. I'll do the murder. So you don't have to do the murder. And that's a really interesting dynamic for a character to be like, okay, I did not imagine how much that worked for Wolverine. I would have never guessed it would work that way, because that's not even how the actual Old Man Logan story goes.
Right. Yeah, it's completely different.
It's an incredible thing to see him, like, understand, I want the best for this kid. I know she could be great because I know what I'm capable of, but I also know all the crap I've been through, and I don't want that for her.
I mean, that's a powerful story.
It's like, as a dad, that's how I felt through all of God of War. I'm just like,
it's like, all right, cool.
All right, so I like, you need to know how to protect yourself, but you never need to be comfortable with this kind of killing. I've been. I know how that ends.
It's not good
to be that way.
Man, I think that is probably the answer I guess I've come up to is I hit a wall with gaming that it could have been that just some stuff is just not as relatable. But it forced me to be like, okay, well, I should probably do more outside stuff or more things with other people, which
it's growth
grew this thing
exactly.
So which is good. I do find out now that I'm like constantly like, okay, was that enough? All right, let me try playing it. I didn't like that. Okay, maybe we're not ready, and then I'll put myself into something else. Like it's weird because like I've built this weird channel around both just fun, like cool conversations, and then also like relating what I think are stories or meanings or moments in gaming that I think are important enough to write about. And I'll write it up, put it into a video, and then put it out there. But it's strange because in doing that, it means that I spend less time getting more other stories from like real life. So it's been this weird balance of like, okay, this is cool, but you've exhausted all the stories you have now. You need to go experience more things. So I don't know.
The short answer is you have to read more. But,
probably, yeah. But you're probably right.
It's a thing that happens with growth. Yeah. I can tell you for certain. And again, admittedly, being a dad has made me much more cognizant of my own growth, which, because I have a literal timer on it now. I can remember when you were small. You're not small, which means I have to be different. That's weird. But it forces you to really look at how much time you put into things, because now you really you're more careful with the time. But whenever something really grabs you, you value it more.
Yeah.
Like, I can't tell you how awesome it's been to just get Disney Plus just to watch my kid watch me watch X-Men. Like, that's a nuts feeling because like he'll be like, oh, okay, this looks really old. And then he'll want to play and then he'll just get randomly sucked in.
Yep.
And not realize he's been standing there for 10 minutes. And I was like, you don't get it.
You don't.
This is that good.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't really even matter how it looks because the characters develop so well, the story's so well defined, and everybody gets a moment where they do something.
That's something I learned a little bit later in life too, where like I focus heavily on like you remember that game Undertale?
Mm-hmm.
So when that game came out, it was at a really unfortunate time, I think, because it was at the same time that there was just garbage on Steam, just utter trash. Just literally people were just like, hey, can I get RPG Maker for $20? Cool. All right, I'm gonna make this garbage game and then sell it, and then people will buy it for $5 and I'll make a lot of money, but the game will be terrible. Well, Undertale came out, and at that moment I was just like, all right, this is it. I'm done with this. Like, I'm so tired of looking at all these like quick cash grabs. And I guess even still now, I almost wish Undertale came out on like with at least an Unreal 3 engine. Yeah. I wish that, but I also realize in that same note that I can find really good stories and games that don't necessarily have to look good.
Yes.
Like there's like
you value the rest of the game.
Right. I felt like Steven Andreu, I don't know, you know him, right? He introduced me to this game called Baba Is You. Genius idea. It's literally just text and a sheep and like some different like world out, but it's like top down. It's 2D. It looks like South Park. Like, okay, it's really bad with just text. But like the whole premise is like there's a line that says Baba is you, and you control the sheep, which his name is Baba. But you can push the text and other things around. So if I push Baba out the way and replace it with a rock, now it says rock is you, and I control the rock. And you use that to solve all the puzzles. I was like, this is goddamn genius. Like this is great.
It's
like,
the Portal thing.
Yeah, like, I was like, this is insane. So like
I had that feeling with Portal.
Yeah.
The first couple times I played Portal and Portal 2, I was like, I don't care about any.
Yeah,
like what is, like I literally am like, what is she saying? I'm just trying to figure this out. Were you listening?
Where's the white wall that I can put a thing on? Oh, there it is behind that fan. Okay, how do I slow the fan down? Like that game's great.
Yeah, you don't really understand the value of puzzle games.
Oh man.
Until you really get past the game. Like once you detach yourself from the story.
Yeah.
Like, okay, is this game well made from a puzzle and solve standpoint? Like, is the gameplay important?
Do you play a lot of stuff on PC?
Not at the moment. That's my plan for the year.
Okay. When you do, there's a game called Dead Core. Have you ever heard of a game called Mirror's Edge?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine Mirror's Edge and Portal just put together. That's what that game is.
Mirror's Edge was
love that
nuts.
Game. The game was so good. Mirror's Edge, the new one was pretty bad, but
that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The new one was. They were like, hey, how can we make this multiplayer without it being multiplayer?
Who wanted that?
Yeah, no one. No one wanted that. They implemented this like ghost run thing where like there were these like courses that you could race other people's times for, but that ultimately didn't do anything. And the worst part about them wasn't that they were there. If they were just in there as like a side option, the problem was they were in the real world that like the story was going on in. So like you would have these moments where you're like, oh, this is cool, and then you'd be forced to do like a trial thing, and you're like, well, this is not what I want to do right now. I guess I'll do this now so I can get to the next thing. Like, but
that's awful.
It's really bad.
All right, so here's the thing, game designers.
Yeah.
Legitimately. Here's the thing, game designers. It's not I don't know who told you this, but if a game was good and it did not require maximizing the use of an engine, you can just still make that game. Just charge us less.
Yeah.
I don't feel like that's revolutionary. If it is, I'm sorry if I broke somebody. But like, what would happen? What would happen if we just took Mirror's Edge and remade it, or just made a sequel where you're doing the exact same thing. We don't stretch the use of the new engine, but it only costs like $40.
I'd buy that. I'd buy that in a heartbeat. Everyone would. I said the same thing about like all these, like even Baba Is You. Like if somebody were to take that concept and put it into like a AAA company, put it into like a Unreal 4.
Yeah.
But like keep it the same length. Don't invest that much time into it, but at least put the money and like the talent behind it that a AAA company has.
Yeah.
Give it to me $40. I buy it. Like it could be like a 6-hour game.
Did you play Psychonauts?
No. So I'm a fan of a channel that one of the guys on there raves about it all the time, and I've heard and seen so much of it, but I really need to sit down and play it. Yeah. I've seen a lot of stuff about it, but never played.
Like, I legit spent 2 years having one of my roommates talk my ear off about the game before I played it. And then he got it, and he was like, you have to play this game. And I played it, and I was like,
oh.
Like, legitimately, the game is not visually stunning.
No,
it's not designed to be visually stunning. It will break your brain in ways you were not prepared to have your brain screwed with.
That sounds great.
Yeah, like the whole of it is, a lot of the game is you are jumping into other people's minds.
Right.
But you don't know what you're gonna get when you get in there. And oh my God, it's so wild. There's a milkman.
I've heard about this already.
Oh God. Oh, the milkman. Oh, what a weird place to be, where I was like, I'm not okay with any of this. This is this guy's mind. Get me out of here.
I'm out. No, you can't be out. Okay, all right, let's knock this out real quick. Like,
is it gonna hurt me? Well, I was like, well, you're in a brain, so maybe. Like, I'm like, oh, this is weird. But the whole game is that, like, oh my God, it's so weird, I can't look away.
Yeah.
Type of feeling. You could make that game every 5 years on the new system, and you would sell it.
Well, the 3's coming out, isn't it?
I hope so.
Pretty sure 3 got announced. I don't know if it's coming out in 2020, but I know it was announced in 2019.
Okay.
So we're getting Psychonauts 3, which is dope.
That could be amazing.
Hopefully. Like I said, I don't know how much time you've got, but I mean, I think we've close to 3 hours at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm good if you are. I got nowhere to be. I have a birthday party in the morning, but that's fine.
I have a Pokemon pre-release in the morning. Be great. But yeah, I think we can call it here. I for sure will have you back on. This was
fantastic.
Awesome. This was fun.
I also love that we have so much in common.
That's the thing that's so frustrating me. Like, it was the same thing with Leia, and like now with you, where it's just like, yeah, these people that are just kind of around, like,
oh, I love Leia.
And then I get them on, and I'm just like, oh, we do have a lot in common. Like,
yeah, Leia game's way harder than I do.
Yeah,
the first time I realized me and Leia clicked, she was driving somewhere, and it was just me in the front seat and her driving. And in the span of like 20 minutes, everybody else in the car was in tears laughing. Just because of us bouncing weird ideas off each other. She's like, we should do this all the time. Yeah. I'm like, yeah. Okay. All
right.
I'm here for it, man. I love talking to people.
I want to have her on a I've toyed with this idea a lot, and ultimately I've come to the realization, yes, it is a little bit exploitive, but it's also really great. I want to do like a special Valentine's edition of this, because I have a bunch of other like microphones and stuff behind these walls that are kind of hidden. And I was gonna set it up so that I can have 2 people on each side, and then push this out, and then have either myself and Leia or just Leia here, and have basically what is that game show called with the couples? It's not Newlyweds. It's
not the Newlywed Game?
No, I don't think maybe it was. Maybe I think it actually it was the Newlywed game. So I was gonna have her host that with 2 other friend couples that I have. And I was like, this is perfect. I need this to happen. So I'm hoping that I get to still do that closer to Valentine's Day.
Yeah, I am a fan of Leia for a lot of reasons. Number one, I am a fan of any person where if I want to know their opinion, all I have to do is ask them to open their mouth.
Yeah.
That's my favorite type of person.
Yep. It makes life easy.
Yeah, even if it's jacked up, I need to know where you stand.
Yeah.
So I know exactly where we can go.
Yeah.
And secondly, she's hilarious. and she doesn't realize where it is sometimes that she's hilarious.
Yeah. I remember trying to, because in conversation I was like, hey, if you're thinking about doing this, do it.
Yeah.
Like, you would be great at it. Like, do it.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna start bothering her again about that now, because
you have to. Yeah. I tried to get her on it for about a year, but yeah, just hammer it at her because she is very, very good.
Yeah. The longest conversation I think I've had so far was like close to 5 hours. Like, that hasn't even happened yet. Yeah. Granted, I have been making an effort to make them more digestible. So
that's fair.
Yeah, I there was somebody that commented on one of it wasn't her video, it was one of the other ones that ended up being like 3 hours plus long, and I was just like, yeah, you're probably right. I wouldn't sit down and listen to something for 3 hours. So like,
it has to be really compelling.
To be really good. Yeah, like, so
that's fair.
And I'm not conceited enough to think that I've gotten to that point yet. I'm no Joe Rogan, but I'll get there at some point.
Oh, yeah. I think it's doable. Yeah. I think you have the interests.
Yeah.
And you have the patience. So
thank you.
Those are the two hardest parts of it.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate this so much. Thank you so much for being here.
Anytime.
I've given up on trying to schedule these. Subscribe so you can see it. And then as soon as it goes up, let me know what you think. But yeah, call it that.